Chapter 764. At this moment, Long Yu still looked like a middle-aged man. He wasn't good-looking at all, and no one would notice him if he was thrown into a crowd. There was definitely something fishy about making these two beautiful women follow him. I don't know. Towards Long Yu's question, the purple-robed beauty, Su shook her head. However, her eyes were fixated on Long Yu as a sweet smile appeared on her face. However, I am willing to make a deal with you. I believe you'll be interested. Speak your mind. Long Yu pretended to listen attentively. He didn't need these two beautiful women as followers, and they might even bring him a lot of trouble. However, since Su said it was a deal, she must have something good to offer. What Long Yu was interested in was naturally what the other party could take out. You can easily take out 150,000 Shinbi and stay in the Glorious Sun Inn for 15 days. It seems that you're definitely not an ordinary person. If I'm not wrong, your martial realm is far beyond the five-path divinity realm. Su took a step forward, her eyes shining with wisdom as she looked at Long Yu confidently. And then, Long Yu's lips curled up as he pretended to be interested and gestured for her to continue. So, with your ability, you must have a way to protect me and Yishuan. Su looked straight into Long Yu's eyes and said, "What we need is your protection. As a condition of the deal, we are willing to become your maids for a year. What do you think? I don't know what difficulties you've encountered, nor do I know what kind of opponents you're facing." Long Yu's expression didn't change. He said indifferently, "If you need my protection, just being my maids is not enough to move me. I'm sorry." After saying this, Long Yu turned around and left. Long Yu wouldn't be willing to do something without any practical benefits. As for having two beautiful women as his maids, he had to be alive to enjoy it. Putting aside the fact that these two beauties were originally at the initial stage of the King realm, since they wanted to seek protection, then it was definitely not something that the current Long Yu could solve. Long Yu did not have the ability to protect them. Of course, if things really didn't work out, Long Yu could bring them to the Azura Ancient Palace. That way, their safety would be guaranteed to the greatest extent. However, the conditions they offered were not attractive to Long Yu at all. Maid? What was this thing for? Was it edible? What's more, if Long Yu needed maids, he could just casually offer some Shinbi, and there would be plenty of beauties willing to become his maids. Long Yu turned around and left. Su and Qin Yashuang were still standing there. The two women had never expected Long Yu to reject them so decisively. Could it be that our beauty is not enough to move him? Su and Qin Yashuang looked at each other and saw suspicion and worry in each other's eyes. That day was about to come, and they didn't have much time left. Long Yu asked around and spent 4 hours running from the Glorious Sun into the Lin Merchant Firm's auction venue. The Lin Merchant Firm was one of the 3 largest firms around the holy city of the 5 emperors. Its auction venue was naturally very luxurious, not inferior to the Glorious Sun Inn's decorations. It was memorable at first glance. Stop. The Lin Merchant Firm's month-end auction is currently being held. Those who have not reached the King Realm are not qualified to enter. Long Yu wanted to step in, but he was stopped by a King Realm youth at the door. The youth looked at Long Yu with disdain. "A mere 5 Daos Realm fellow wants to enter our Lin Merchant Firm? Dream on, hurry up and scram." The other King Realm guard waved his hand impatiently. "If you don't leave now, then I won't be polite anymore. The Lin Merchant Firm is really arrogant, bullying a martial cultivator like this, hee." Before Long Yu could say anything, a seductive voice came from behind him. It was obvious that she was mocking the 2 youths guarding the door of the Lin Merchant Guild. Which Su of the Su Medicine Shop has come in person? Could it be that the Lin Merchant Firm is auctioning something good this time? Yeah, the Su Medicine Shop and the Lin Merchant Firm have always been on bad terms. There must be something fishy about which Su coming to the Lin Merchant Firm this time. In my opinion, which Su is just here to ruin the Lin Merchant Firm's reputation. The month-end auction of the 3 major firms doesn't allow anyone below the King Realm to enter. Which Su just opened her mouth and mocked the Lin Merchant Firm. She's definitely here to cause trouble. The people around them started whispering to each other and started discussing among themselves. Long Yu subconsciously turned his head to look and saw a beautiful woman in a bright red dress. She was surrounded by a group of martial arts experts and was walking towards the entrance of the Lin's trading firm. A wave of pleasant and strange fragrance assaulted his nostrils, causing Long Yu to feel rather refreshed. After taking a closer look at the peerlessly beautiful woman, he noticed that there was an embroidered Su word on her chest. Her appearance was delicate and beautiful, just like a blooming red rose. Just a glance was enough to cause one to be intoxicated. Emperor Realm. Long Yu calmly retreated a step to the side. He didn't want to get involved in the conflict between the two big firms. The main thing was that he still wanted to go to the Su Medicine Hall to participate in the auction. Therefore, he couldn't afford to offend either side. However, which Su clearly wasn't going to let him go so easily. Her eyes were filled with temptation as she looked at Long Yu. Then she smiled gently and said, "Brother, why don't you follow me in? I want to see whether or not these two watchdogs dare to stop me, Su Ningon, from entering. Quick, call the head steward over." One of the guards immediately said to the other, then turned around and looked at Witch Su. He mustered up his courage and said, "Senior Su, I hope you won't make things difficult for us. You know the rules of the three firms?" "Of course I know the rules, little guy." Su Ningon smiled faintly. She didn't do anything, but the King Realm guard in front of her had a confused look in his eyes. "Senior, please." The King Realm guard's mind was obviously under her control. He actually let Su Ningon in. "That's more like it. Let's go in." Su Ningon didn't mind at all. She waved her hand and led the three Emperor Realm experts behind her into the Lin Merchant Guild. Before she entered, she even turned her head around and smiled at Long Yu. "Brother, if you don't come in with us, you won't have another chance." Senior, I'm sorry. I just remembered that I have something to do. I have to go first." Long Yu didn't want to walk together with Su Ning. Otherwise, how could he do business with the Lin merchant firm? He could only take a step back and come back later. He could use the Jade Medallion Lin Reitsai gave him to pass through. "How dare you?" Hearing Long Yu's words, a white-haired young man behind Su Ning and immediately shouted angrily. He glared at Long Yu and said, "Senior Su invited you to come with us, and you dare to refuse? Are you not giving face?" This white-haired young man should have just stepped into the Emperor Realm. He looked to be in his 30s and was definitely a genius. The people from the Su Medicine Hall aren't robbers, are they? Long Yu's expression didn't change. He looked at the white-haired young man and said indifferently, "I can do whatever I want. Don't tell me you want to restrict my freedom." "You." The white-haired young man immediately glared at Long Yu. Then, with a clang, he pulled out the long sword combat weapon from his waist. What was shocking was that it was actually a low-rank, ancient-rank combat weapon. Does the Su Medicine Hall want to fight on the street? Facing the white-haired young man's Emperor Realm aura, Long Yu didn't move at all. He stared at the white-haired young man indifferently, letting the aura cut his face like a sharp blade. He didn't even move a single step. "Stop." Su Ning looked over and said indifferently, "Let's go in. Don't cause any unnecessary trouble." However, after saying this, Su Ning gave Long Yu a deep look. There seemed to be a trace of killing intent in that look. It was obvious that she didn't have a good impression of Long Yu. This made Long Yu feel a sense of danger. This was his first time facing an Emperor Realm expert. The last time was when he faced Emperor Yundan in the North Snow Empire. However, this Witch Su was at least 100 times stronger than Emperor Yundan. Moreover, there was no Yu Hanshin in front of him. It seems that the Su Ning in a human life really isn't a human life. If I'm caught by her, I won't even know how I died. Looks like I can't use this identity anymore. Long Yu's expression gradually turned cold. Right now, Long Yu was quite displeased. He'd been dragged into the conflict between two great forces for no reason. He'd even incurred the killing intent of an Emperor Realm expert. However, he didn't complain because he'd realized that in this world, martial Dao was everything and strength was everything. If a person was too weak, they would only be bullied by others in the end. Looks like I'll have to change my identity when I go to the Su Medicine Hall in the future. Also, I can't participate in the month's end auction without reaching the King Realm. This is a bit troublesome. Long Yu frowned slightly, but didn't think too much about it. He turned around and left. Perhaps he had to go back and look for Zisu and Qin Shuang. Forget it. I'll go find Lin Ruizai and sell the divine rune crystals first. Long Yu shook his head and disappeared from the street in a flash. After a long while, he swaggered back with a jade tablet in his hand. The guards at the entrance had already changed too, but they still wanted to stop Long Yu when they saw him. However, they saw the jade token in Long Yu's hand. "It's the head butler's esteemed guest. Please come in," the two guards quickly said respectfully. Long Yu didn't stay at the entrance for long. After making sure that not too many people noticed him, he stepped into the Lin Merchant Firm's auction room. One of the guards brought Long Yu to the backstage of the Lin Merchant Firm's auction room. Since Long Yu had the jade token from Lin Ruizai, he had the right to see Lin Ruizai. Only now did Long Yu know that Lin Ruizai was the Lin Merchant Firm's head butler. That meant that Lin Ruizai's Theurgy realm cultivation was just a disguise, right? Not long after, Long Yu followed the guard all the way to the backstage of the auction room. He heard Lin Ruizai's voice from afar. However, what made Long Yu's heart sink was the voice of Su Ning, and the witch he met just now. "I didn't think I could avoid her." Long Yu's eyes flickered. The transaction of the divine rune crystals had to be done in private. After all, it was forbidden in the holy city of the 5 emperors. Chapter 765. Long Yu hadn't expected that he wouldn't be able to avoid Su Ning, and in the end, could it be that Su Ning's goal was related to the divine rune crystal? However, Long Yu's heart only sank for a moment before he relaxed. In any case, this Wang Tai identity had already offended Su Ning, and it didn't matter if he offended her a bit more. She couldn't make a move in the Lin Merchant Guild, could she? As for the transaction, Long Yu had plenty of ways to fool her. "Head steward, Lord Wang Tai is here." The guard leading the way naturally didn't know of Long Yu's worries. He leaned against the door and shouted. This shout caused Lin Ruizai's heart to tremble. "Tell him that I'll go find him later. Right now, I have to receive Miss Su Ning, and there's no need, head steward. Our transaction isn't something shameful, right?" Long Yu faintly smiled and strode towards the room. As expected, he saw Su Ning, who was wearing a bright red dress, and Lin Ruizai, who was wearing a gray robe, standing together. Su Ning revealed a meaningful smile when she saw Wang Tai enter the room. As for Lin Ruizai, he narrowed his eyes. Logically speaking, he should be furious that Long Yu had insisted on coming despite Su Ning's presence. However, he could hear the hidden meaning in Long Yu's words, so he relaxed. He knew that Long Yu wouldn't mention the divine rune crystal here. "Head steward, this is mine." Long Yu smiled faintly. He didn't mind Su Ning's presence. He reached into his robes and took out an item. At the same time, he took out a jade token. "This is the Emperor Realm special crystal I promised you. The amount of pure spirit energy contained within is equivalent to..." Long Yu paused for a moment before continuing with a smile. "It's equivalent to 5 times the value of an ancient mid-rank pill. Just give me the price we agreed on. Also, this jade token records the entire process of how I obtained this special crystal. Here." Long Yu tossed the special crystal and jade token to Lin Ruizai. This was obviously to deceive Su Ning, and in front of her, Lin Ruizai understood Long Yu's purpose almost instantly. He couldn't help but praise this person for being very good at doing things. He took the special crystal and the jade slip. He knew that what Long Yu was doing now was just acting, and the things in the jade slip were what Long Yu really wanted to express. What he wanted to say was recorded in the jade slip, pretending to be the entire process of obtaining the Emperor Realm's special crystal. That way, Su Ning wouldn't be able to detect any problems at all. Could it be that Su Ning dared to peek at the contents of this jade slip? Lin Rui took the 2 items, glanced at them, and nodded. "Not bad, 3 million shinbi. Do you want it now, or?" His expression was calm when he said this, but his heart was in turmoil. A special Emperor Realm crystal was as rare as a divine rune crystal. It seemed that Wang Tai had exhausted all of his family's resources to destroy a beast lair. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to obtain an Emperor Realm crystal. Geniuses among beasts, special beasts, especially Emperor Realm ones, would always be guarded by great Emperor Realm beasts. Moreover, they wouldn't stray too far from their lair. Even a great emperor wouldn't be able to kill an Emperor Realm beast alone. I want to participate in the next auction. My goal is an ancient rank pill. We can slowly calculate the Shunbi after the auction. Long Yu smiled faintly. No problem. Lin Ruizai nodded, suppressing the excitement in his heart. He looked at Su Ning and again, Miss Su, this is the backstage of our Lin trading firm. It doesn't seem appropriate for you to stay here. Why don't you come with me to the front desk to participate in the auction? As you wish. Su Ning and looked deeply at Long Yu, then smiled flirtatiously, turned around, and left with Lin Ruizai. As for Long Yu, he naturally followed behind the two. Lin Trading Firm, Auction House. Long Yu had obtained a private VIP room. He calmly waited for the auction to begin. By now, he was almost certain that Su Ning and had heard the news from somewhere. That was why she had come here. She was probably trying to interrupt Lin Ruizai's deal with the Divine Rune Crystals. Divine Rune Crystals could only be traded on the black market, and they were extremely profitable. If Lin Ruizai could close this deal, the Lin Trading Firm's profits would explode. As one of the three great firms, the Su Medicine Hall naturally couldn't just watch. As for how Su Ning and new, great Emperor Realm experts had the power of deduction, it wasn't difficult to deduce a few clues. That was why she had appeared here today and disrupted Long Yu's plans. Originally, Long Yu wanted to directly trade the Divine Rune Crystals with Lin Ruizai, then bid for the ancient rank pills and leave. He didn't think that Su Ning would interfere. Since it was like this, Long Yu could only temporarily keep the Divine Rune Crystals. Using the special Emperor Realm Crystal as a temporary mortgage, not only could it fool others, but would also provide Long Yu with the conditions to bid for the ancient rank pills. Without the Divine Rune Crystals, Long Yu's remaining 200,000 Shinbi wouldn't be able to bid for enough ancient rank pills. Su Ning and Long Yu sat in the VIP room, narrowing his eyes as he pondered. Without a doubt, Su Ning had disrupted his plans. However, the contents of the jade slip he had temporarily created were enough for him to arrange the deal with Lin Ruizai. Since the holy city of the Five Emperors was no longer safe, Long Yu chose to trade outside the city, in the Azura Ancient Palace. With the Death Envoy here, no Emperor Realm expert's deduction would be able to descend upon the Azura Ancient Palace. In Long Yu's opinion, Azura Ancient Palace was the safest place to trade. Of course, this was only Long Yu's suggestion in the Jade Slip. Whether or not Lin Ruizai had a better idea, he didn't know. If there was, Lin Ruizai would definitely find a way to inform him, and he couldn't let Su Ning discover any clues. It's just a deal, so troublesome. Long Yu shook his head in displeasure. However, this was the holy city of the Five Emperors. In the holy city of the Five Emperors, the rules set by the alliance of Five Emperors were sacred and inviolable. Trading with the Divine Rune Crystals violated the rules set by the alliance of Five Emperors. Therefore, Long Yu's actions could only be carried out in secret. This was naturally very troublesome. Soon, the Lin Merchant Firm's auction began. The ordinary items at the beginning, even great desolate grade combat weapons and martial techniques, didn't attract Long Yu at all. Occasionally, there would be a great desolate grade pill that Long Yu hadn't bought before. He would bid for 3 of them. Even if it was a desolate grade high-grade pill, the auction price would only be around 2,000 to 3,000 Shinbi. 3 of them added up to 10,000 Shinbi. This price was nothing to Long Yu. Not long after, the auction began for the 5 types of low ancient grade pills that Lin Ruizai had mentioned. There were 10 of each type. Long Yu wanted to bid for 3 of each type, and each one would go for around 150,000 Shinbi. However, after some thought, it didn't seem very likely. The Emperor Realm Special Crystal contained 5 times the pure spirit energy of a mid-ancient grade pill. Moreover, it could be absorbed without limit. It wasn't like ordinary pills, where the effects would be halved after taking a second one. Therefore, It was only natural that the Emperor Realm special crystal was 5 times more valuable than mid-ancient grade pills. It could be sold for at least 3 million Shinbi. Long Yu had already explained to Lin Ruizai in the Jade Slip that the Emperor Realm special crystal was only a mortgage. He would take it back after the transaction was completed. In other words, Long Yu had a total of 3,200,000 Shinbi. 5 types of low ancient grade pills. I need 3 of each type. At 150,000 Shinbi each, that's a total of 2,250,000 Shinbi. Including the mid-ancient grade pills, I don't have enough money. I really don't have enough money. Long Yu shook his head. Right now, he could only sell the second-grade divine rune crystals. Since he didn't have enough money, he had to settle for the next best thing. In any case, Long Yu would only get half the effects of the second pill. Since he didn't have enough money right now, he could just buy more in the future. 5 types of low ancient grade pills, 1 for each type. That's a total of 700,000 Shinbi. Before long, Long Yu had won the bid for the 5 types of low ancient grade pills. Now it was time for the grand finale of the auction. The truly valuable treasures were only starting to appear now. Mid-ancient grade pill, Thousand Birds Reverence the Phoenix pill. There are a total of 3 of them. Now, let's auction the first one. The beautiful auctioneer took out 3 pill boxes containing 3 mid-ancient grade pills. She exclaimed excitedly, "The starting price is 200,000 Shinbi. Each increment must be no less than 20,000 Shinbi." The moment the Thousand Birds Reverence the Phoenix pill appeared, the crowd went wild. Most of the people who had come to this auction were here for the mid-ancient grade pills. The starting price of 200,000 Shinbi was practically free. However, the price quickly rose to 400,000 Shinbi. At this point, the number of bidders finally began to dwindle. In the past, every mid-ancient grade pill would go for around 500,000 Shinbi. Long Yu thought for a moment before raising his paddle in the VIP room. 500,000. The moment this bid was called out, many people immediately gave up. This was only the first pill. There were still 2 more to come, so there was no need to raise the price too high. Long Yu got his wish and won the Thousand Birds Reverence the Phoenix pill. Although the spirit chi in this pill was only a fifth of the Emperor Realm divine rune crystals, Long Yu still needed it very much. It was better than nothing. The next 2,000 Birds Reverence the Phoenix pills were sold for over 500,000 Shinbi. One was sold for 540,000 Shinbi, while the other was sold for 560,000 Shinbi. This made Long Yu's heart skip a beat. When another mid-ancient grade pill, the Sunset pill, appeared, Long Yu immediately called out a bid of 540,000 Shinbi. Chapter 766. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and started to ponder. 2 mid-grade ancient weapons, 5 low-grade ancient weapons, a total of 74 million divine coins. His current total assets were 4 million divine coins. Since he would have to sell the divine rune crystals sooner or later, he would only be left with 2 million divine coins when he left the auction house. He was going to participate in the Su Family Medicine Hall's auction. He was determined to get the Shadow Emperor pill, and he was going to get all 3 of them. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be. A mere 2 million divine coins might not be enough. Long Yu fiddled with the ancient low-grade combat weapon in his arms, the pale cold blade from Emperor Yundan. Since he was already in the holy city of the 5 emperors, he didn't need to worry about Emperor Yunduan's revenge anymore. He could sell this combat weapon now. Other than that, since Long Yu could make a cultivation jade slip for a 7th grade divine chain in a short period of time, it wouldn't be cheap either. If that wasn't enough, Long Yu planned to write down the cultivation method of the ancient desolate shadow kill into a jade slip and auction it. The ancient desolate shadow kill was a high-grade, great desolate martial skill, and it was a very practical martial skill. If it was sold, it could be sold for at least 1 million divine coins. Compared to pills and combat weapons of the same grade, martial skills were the most valuable. The most expensive high-grade, great desolate combat weapon was only 100,000 divine coins, but martial skills were completely different. This was also the reason why no power in the North Snow dynasty had a high-grade, great desolate martial skill, because it was too expensive. In the holy city of the Five Emperors, it could be sold for 1,000,000 divine coins. In the remote areas, it could be sold for at least 2 to 3 million divine coins. For power like the Long House, their annual expenditure was only 1,000,000 divine coins. Where would they find the extra money to buy a high-grade, great desolate martial skill? It wasn't that they couldn't afford it. It was just that there was no need for it. If the 2 to 3 million divine coins were used to buy pills and combat weapons, it would increase the overall strength of the Longhouse. Comparing the two, the Longhouse could only choose to buy pills and combat weapons. An ancient low-grade combat weapon, like the Pale Cold Blade, could be sold for at least 500,000 divine coins, maybe even more. Adding it all together, it would be close to 2 million divine coins. However, this was still not enough. Long Yu thought that the Su family medicine hall should also have unique ancient-grade medicinal pills. If you wanted to buy them, you would have to get more money. I'll first craft the Ancient Desolate Shadow Kill and Spectral Spiral Jade Scrolls, then sell the Ashen Cold Blade. I'll definitely get more than 2 million divine coins. The things that Long Yu sold were all obtained by chance and had nothing to do with the inheritance of the Juyo Dragon Emperor. Even the 7th grade divine chain, the Spectral Spiral, was only related to the Envoy of Death and had nothing to do with the Juyo Dragon Emperor. Therefore, the sale of these things wouldn't affect Long Yu much. As for the Ancient Desolate Shadow Kill, if it was bought by an enemy, what a joke, that would be even better. If Long Yu's enemy had enough money to buy a high-grade, great desolate grade martial skill, then using the Ancient Desolate Shadow Kill on Long Yu would be much better than using other unknown martial skills on Long Yu. Long Yu himself had trained the Ancient Desolate Shadow Kill to perfection, and his understanding of this skill was deeper than anyone else's. If others tried to train it, they would only be displaying their slight skill in front of Long Yu. Before the Lin Shop's auction ended, Long Yu had already left the VIP room and walked towards the back, waiting for Lin Rue to bring the ancient-grade medicinal pills over. Although he had left the auction hall, Long Yu could still hear the voices in the hall. The next item to be auctioned was an ancient low-grade combat weapon, which was sold for 600,000 divine coins. Finally, there were the 3 heavenly dragon pills that the Lin Shop had concocted this month. They were all great desolate grade, transcendent grade pills. Although the heavenly dragon pill was placed last, it was obvious that the crowd wasn't very enthusiastic about it. Although it was a transcendent grade pill, it didn't have an obvious effect on compatibility with divine runes. Excluding this point, the heavenly dragon pill was only equivalent to an ancient low-grade medicinal pill. The first heavenly dragon pill was sold for 200,000 divine coins. When Long Yu heard the news, he frowned slightly. He still remembered that back in the city of Desolate God, the General's Mansion's trading house, the 3 heavenly dragon pills were sold for 150,000 divine coins each. Now, it seemed like there was a problem with the 3 heavenly dragon pills. Could it be that they were robbed halfway? Long Yu shook his head. No matter what, he knew that the 3 heavenly dragon pills were not fake. As for why there was a difference in the price, there were many reasons. Long Yu couldn't be bothered to guess, because there was no point in guessing. Right now, the Lin Shop is not competitive in terms of transcendent grade pills, Long Yu thought to himself. The heavenly dragon pill's effect on compatibility with divine characters was too weak, causing its price to be unable to rise. However, the cost of refining it wasn't much lower than other great desolate grade pills. In other words, the Lin Merchant Company's profits in this area weren't high. Compared to the brilliant Flame Saint pill and the Shadow Emperor pill, the effects of the Heavenly Dragon pill were simply too weak. The Shadow Royal pill is worth at least 500,000 each. Furthermore, if there are more competitors, the price will increase by quite a bit. I must be fully prepared. I must get 3 Shadow Royal pills. Long Yu made up his mind. The Shadow Royal pill had an obvious effect on one's compatibility with the Shadow attribute. Even if it was an ordinary martial cultivator, A single Shadow Royal pill was enough to raise their compatibility from the 4th level to the 5th level. The effect was at least 3 times that of the Heavenly Dragon pill. If Long Yu were to take it instead, the effect would be 3 times stronger. With 3 Shadow Emperor pills, he would definitely be able to reach the 7th level of compatibility with the Shadow Attribute Divine Text. Soon, Lin Ruizai came down from the front desk and asked someone to bring 2 mid-ancient medicinal pills and 5 low-ancient medicinal pills to Long Yu. 7 pills, 1,740,000 Shinbi. That special crystal is worth 3 million divine coins, so I still owe you more than 1 million divine coins. Lin Ruizai smiled and said, "Let's go, Brother Wang Tai. How about coming to my house?" Hearing this, Long Yu narrowed his eyes before nodding his head. He knew that this was an invitation from Lin Ruizai, and it definitely had something to do with the divine runic crystals. He naturally couldn't refuse. "Let's go. The auction is over. There's no need for us to stay here." After Lin Rui finished speaking, he led the way and directly left the auction house of Lin's firm. The peerless beauty of the Su clan's medicine hall, Su Ningguan, had her eyes locked on Long Yu and Lin Ruizai. But when she saw that they were headed for Lin Ruizai's residence, she frowned and didn't follow. Su Ningguan only had a faint hunch about the divine runic crystals during her deductions, but she didn't have any proof. In fact, she wasn't even sure if it was a transaction involving divine runic crystals. Is it really just the special crystal of an Emperor Realm cultivator? Su Ningguan shook her head and left. She had a lot of things to do and couldn't be bothered to waste too much time here. Since she hadn't discovered anything, she should hurry back and prepare for the Su clan's month-end auction. Inside Lin Ruizai's residence, Long Yu followed him all the way to a basement. There's a formation here, personally set up by a spirit formation master. It can resist any great emperor's deductions. Many of our Lin firm's secret transactions are conducted in this basement. Lin Ruizai let out a sigh of relief after entering the basement and smiled at Long Yu. There was no one else in the basement except for the two of them. No matter what they talked about, they wouldn't be discovered. Now we can properly calculate. As for the divine runic crystals, take a look. Long Yu smiled faintly and took out all 352nd grade divine runic crystals. Divine runic crystals, they really were divine runic crystals. The lighting in the basement was dim, but Lin Ruizai could clearly see the excitement on his face. As expected, they are all second-tier divine runic crystals. Every second-tier divine runic crystal, if converted, can increase a cultivator's comprehension of the power of the divine runic symbols by at least 1/10,000th. And this is only in theory. In reality, these 350 divine runic crystals can increase a cultivator's comprehension by at least 10%. Long Yu was surprised when he heard this. Second-grade divine runic crystals could indeed increase his comprehension by 1/10,000th. Then, 350 divine runic crystals should only increase his comprehension by a little more than 3% at most. How could it be 10%? But Long Yu quickly understood. Second-grade divine runic crystals could increase one's comprehension by 1/10,000th, and that was the power of origin divine runic power. But in the Shenwu world, there were probably no cultivators who could comprehend the power of origin divine runic power. The majority of cultivators could only comprehend the power of divine runic power by engraving divine runic power. Compared to origin divine runic power, it was normal for one's comprehension speed to be 3 times faster. I'll return this Emperor Realm special crystal to you. Lin Ruizai reluctantly threw the Emperor Realm special crystal to Long Yu and said, 350 divine runic crystals. That's a total of 3,500,000 Shinbi. Deducting the 1,740,000 Shinbi from the auction, I still need to give you 1,760,000 Shinbi. Wait. As Lin Ruizai was about to take out the Shinbi, Long Yu waved his hand and took out the pale coal blade from his chest pocket. This is an ancient low-tier combat weapon. Do you want it for 500,000 Shinbi? Long Yu asked straightforwardly. In the auction, just now, An ancient low-tier combat weapon was sold for 600,000 shinbi. If he bought it for 500,000 shinbi, the Lin merchant firm would definitely make a profit. Even in the holy city of the Five Emperors, an ancient low-tier combat weapon was a very precious item. Only a small number of cultivators had the chance to obtain one. 500,000, no problem. Lin Ruizai was shocked. After taking the pale coal blade and observing it for a while, he nodded his head in agreement. Although ancient low-tier combat weapons weren't rare in the holy city of the Five Emperors, there were very few of them in the market. The three big merchant firms combined only sold less than 5 of them every month. The fact that Long Yu could take out an ancient low-tier combat weapon for sale was indeed out of Lin Ruizai's expectations. However, when he thought about how Long Yu's family had even ransacked a beast's nest, it wasn't strange for them to take out an ancient low-tier combat weapon. Do you have any jade slips here? Long Yu threw the pale coal blade into Lin Ruizai's hand and asked. I also have a cultivation method for 7th grade god chains and a great desolate high-tier martial skill to sell. Great desolate high-tier martial skill. 7th grade god chains. Chapter 767. After one night, Long Yu had recorded the cultivation methods of the primordial shadow kill, grade 7 god chain, and spectral spiral on jade slips and handed them over to Lin Ruizai. Long Yu had already cultivated the primordial shadow kill to perfection, so this was a complete grand desolate grade martial skill worth more than 1,000,000 shinbi. As for the grade 7 god chain, spectral spiral, it had never appeared in the holy city of the Five Emperors before. In other words, this was an unprecedented god chain. The Lin clan's trading firm and the other trading firms were all very trustworthy. They would only auction the same divine chains and martial techniques once. They would never duplicate them and auction them a second time. Because of this, martial techniques, divine chains, and other cultivation methods were all extremely expensive. The spectral spiral is very useful in battle. Even an ordinary grade 7 god chain can be sold for 1,000,000 shinbi, not to mention this one that has never appeared before. 5 million is my offer. As for the grand desolate grade martial skill, primordial shadow kill, I will offer 2 million shinbi. Brother Wang, what do you think? Lin Ruizai took the 2 jade slips. With just a glance, his eyes lit up, and he immediately offered a price. Sure. Long Yu nodded in agreement. In one night, Long Yu earned 7 million shinbi. Including the profit from selling the divine rune crystals, Long Yu now had more than 5 million shinbi. It should be enough to bid for the Su Clan Medicine Hall's supreme desolate grade pills. As for going to the Su Clan Medicine Hall to bid, Long Yu already had a plan. First of all, without reaching the King Path secret realm, one was not qualified to participate in the month-end auction. Long Yu could not befriend Demonis, Su like he did with Lin Ruizai. Since that was the case, Long Yu had to rely on others. There's no way I can trust the help of other King Realm experts. After all, this is a matter of several million shinbi, and I have to do it myself. If that's the case, I can only find a King Realm expert and use the Book of Shadows to imitate it. Long Yu thought to himself. After leaving Lin Ruizai's courtyard, he began to carry out his plan. In fact, if he were to mention this to Lin Ruizai would definitely be willing to lend him a King Realm expert and use the Book of Shadows to imitate it. But the problem was, Lin Ruizai's people were all members of the Lin family's trading company. How could they imitate this appearance to participate in the Su family's medicine hall's auction? Long Yu must be out of his mind to do such a thing. As for hiring a random King Realm expert, it wasn't that Long Yu hadn't thought about it. However, he immediately threw this idea to the back of his mind. The existence of the Book of Shadows was something he absolutely couldn't reveal to others. Therefore, he only had one choice left, and that was to find the 2 beautiful women he saw at the Sunshine Inn, Zisu and Qin Yashuang. Since the 2 women had something to ask of him, it shouldn't be too late for Long Yu to find them now, right? Since the 2 sides had a business relationship, it was naturally much safer than if Long Yu randomly found a king realm expert to imitate them. Moreover, Long Yu could also solve the problem of the two women's safety. He could let them hide in the Azura ancient palace and guarantee their safety. However, right now, Long Yu didn't know what problem the two women had encountered. Sunshine Inn. In the morning, Long Yu returned to this place and prepared to find Zi Su and Qin Yashuang. The Su family's medicine hall's auction would begin tomorrow, so Long Yu still had time to prepare. And now, Long Yu had already restored his original appearance. He was a 20-year-old youth dressed in black, and was no longer the middle-aged man, Wang Tai. Perhaps from today onwards, Long Yu wouldn't use the identity of Wang Tai anymore. He would only keep the identity jade token of the Lin family's trading company's chief steward, Lin Ruizai. Perhaps it would be useful at a critical moment. Long Yu arrived at the Sunshine Inn with his original appearance and didn't encounter any trouble. However, just as he was about to step inside, he saw the people he was looking for come out. Zi Su, who was dressed in purple, and Qin Yashuang, who was dressed in white, just happened to walk out of the glorious Sun Inn. They were following behind a young master dressed in luxurious clothes. Two beauties, don't worry. No matter what trouble you encounter, I, Gongsun Jiaxing, will definitely solve it for you. The luxuriously dressed young master had a proud expression on his face as he walked out with Zi Su and Qin Yashuang. One could see the endless worry in the two women's eyes. It was obvious that no matter what this young man called Gongsun Jiaxing said, the two women still didn't feel safe. After all, the Gongsun family was much weaker than the forces they had to face. Most importantly, although Gongsun Jiaxing was willing to help them, he was also plotting against them. Even if Gongsun Jiaxing really helped them, they would probably be thrown into a pack of wolves after leaving the tiger's den. However, the day that they were worried about would eventually come. If they couldn't find a solution now, they would definitely die when the time came. Therefore, the two women could only pin their hopes on the young master in front of them, Gongsun Jiaxing. 25 years old, early stage king state. You dare to meddle in other people's business with just this little bit of strength? Just as the two women were feeling nervous, a mocking voice suddenly came from the side. It was obvious that this sentence was directed at the young master, Gongsun Jiaxing. The two women looked to the side and saw a young man in black with a faint smile on his face. It was this young man who was actually mocking Gongsun Jiaxing. Most importantly, this young man only seemed to have the cultivation of 5 divine realm. This young man in black was Long Yu. As soon as he heard Long Yu's words, the arrogant young master Gongsun Jiaxing's expression instantly turned ugly. His martial talent was indeed not that great, but he had the backing of a powerful family. Although the Gongsun family was not considered a top family in the holy city of the 5 emperors, it was still a rather powerful existence. Initially, he had planned to use the power of his family to retaliate, but when he saw that Long Yu only had the cultivation of 5 divine realm, he couldn't help but laugh. Kid, didn't your mother tell you that gossiping outside will cost you your life? As soon as Gongsun Jiaxing saw Long Yu, he knew that he would not be a threat. First, Long Yu's martial realm was too low. He could finish him off with one hand. Second, Long Yu did not seem to have any backing. Otherwise, how could he not have stepped into the king state in his 20s? Gongsun Jiaxing was indeed 25 years old and had just stepped into the king state not long ago. However, he was already the one with the worst talent among all the families in the holy city of the 5 emperors. Even Gongsun Jiaxing could step into the king state, but the kid in front of him had not. This was definitely because he did not have a powerful backing. In this case, why would Gongsun Jiaxing be afraid of Long Yu? He looked at Long Yu with eyes full of disdain. Now, kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times, and I may forgive your crimes. Otherwise, you will die today. I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with a brat. Long Yu looked at him indifferently, then shifted his gaze to the 2 women behind him. Ladies, do you remember Senior Wang Tai who stayed in the Sunshine Inn for 15 consecutive days? I am his friend. I listened to his instructions and came to ask if you need any help. Since he was going to steal business from Gongsun Jiaxing, Long Yu naturally had to put on a more thorough act. Otherwise, the two women might not be willing to follow him. As expected, Zissou and Qin Yashuang's expressions immediately changed when they heard what Long Yu said. Senior Wang Tai? Of course they remembered. After all, this had only happened yesterday. Because of Senior Wang Tai, they had freeloaded on the Sunshine Formation for 15 days for free. Their cultivation speed had greatly increased. However, they were slightly puzzled. Didn't Senior Wang Tai say that he didn't need servants? Could it be that this black-clothed young man needed servants? However, this black-clothed young man seemed to only be at the 5 divine realms. That's right. The two women's eyes lit up at almost the same time because they suddenly remembered that Senior Wang Tai also seemed to only be at the 5 divine realms. However, at this moment, Gongsun Jiaxing took a step forward. Brat? I think you are the brat. Who gave you the courage to provoke the young master of the Gongsun family, a king stage powerhouse? A look of disdain appeared in Gongsun Jiaxing's eyes. A soft whip appeared in his hand. The soft whip was burning with raging flames, condensing into a flaming 3-headed snake. It spat out its fiery tongue from his side, looking exceptionally fierce. The terrifying temperature directly attracted the attention of many people in the surroundings. Many people stopped to watch. A mere divine realm kid dared to provoke a king stage powerhouse? He was really courting death. Duel! 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 Many people began to shout as if they wanted to see the world in chaos. After all, private battles were not allowed in the holy city of the 5 emperors. Unless both parties agreed to a duel, they would be arrested by the city guards. In fact, when Gongsun Jiaxing's 3-headed flaming snake appeared, a few city guards nearby noticed this and immediately rushed over. However, they did not make a move for the time being. If the two of them really chose to fight, then the city guards didn't have to interfere, and it was fine so long as they didn't affect the others in the surroundings. However, what could a kid at the initial stage of the King Realm do? With a few city guards here, it was enough to ensure the safety of the surrounding people. Oh, so you think that your early stage, King stage cultivation is very powerful? The corner of Long Yu's mouth curled up. Let's not talk nonsense. Let's duel. If you lose, leave immediately. I will lose. What a joke. Gongsun Jiaxing acted as if he had heard the biggest joke in the world. Perhaps you have never seen the power of a king stage powerhouse. A mere 5 divine realms dares to spout nonsense. Since you are so confident, why don't we bet our lives? Long Yu smiled faintly. Bet our lives. These 2 words were like an ear-piercing magic that reached Gongsun Jiaxing's ears, causing his arrogant laughter to stop. It was a bet of their lives. Was there something strange about this brat at the secret realm of divinity? What, you don't dare? Chapter 768. Gongsun Jiaxing's handsome face instantly turned the color of a pig's liver. Don't dare? Who wouldn't dare to bet their lives against a 5-level divine realm fellow? However, Gongsun Jiaxing wasn't stupid. He knew that a 5-level divine realm kid wouldn't dare to challenge an early-stage king realm expert and propose to bet their lives. Bet your life. Bet your life. Agree. The young master of the Gongsun clan is actually afraid of a mere divine realm kid? I can't take it anymore. How embarrassing. Looks like the rumors are true. The Gongsun clan is full of cowards. The crowd mocked Gongsun Jiaxing. Moreover, Long Yu was standing in front of Gongsun Jiaxing with a mocking smile on his face. Why wouldn't I dare? Gongsun Jiaxing's eyes flickered with viciousness. However, my life is different from yours. If you die, I'm afraid no one will even collect your corpse, right? Since you want to die so badly, then go ahead. The 3-headed flaming snake that had condensed beside him finally attacked Long Yu. For a time, flaming divine symbols spread in all directions, and the temperature in the surroundings rose at a terrifying speed. The crowd instantly cheered. Everyone naturally loved to watch such a show. Not only could they have a lot of fun and gossip, but they could also learn something from such a life-and-death battle. After all, it was a life-and-death battle. Since that 5-level divine realm kid had proposed to bet his life, then he probably wouldn't die so easily, right? Long Yu didn't care about Gongsun Jiaxing's three-headed flaming snake at all. He just raised his hand, and a barrier of death condensed beside him. After that, a strand of ninth underworld divine symbol appeared beneath Gongsun Jiaxing's feet. Gongsun Jiaxing couldn't help but laugh when he saw that Long Yu had only used a defensive barrier to block his three-headed flaming snake. A mere 5-level divine realm kid. I thought you were strong, but you can't even see the power of this move of mine. You're dead for sure today. Gongsun Jiaxing sneered. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt a strange sensation coming from beneath his feet. Lowering his head, he saw that there was a small spiral formed by the power of pitch-black divine characters under his feet. This small spiral actually produced an endless amount of power that locked him in place. The attractive force from the spiral made Gongsun Jiaxing unable to move at all. Although they were both 7th-grade divine chains, the spectral spiral that Long Yu was using now was several times more powerful than the one he had used previously. Firstly, his compatibility with the shadow attribute divine characters had reached the 6th level. Secondly, he had completely comprehended the origin divine characters of the 9 underworlds. Thirdly, he had broken through to the 5 divine abilities realm. Due to these 3 reasons, the spectral spiral was now able to completely trap ordinary early-stage king realm experts. Before Gongsun Jiaxing could react, he saw a black shadow flash past in front of him, followed by a black dragon's breath. A terrifying power instantly enveloped him. Trapped by the spectral spiral, Gongsun Jiaxing did not manage to react in time to defend himself. In the end, he could only take out a necklace battle weapon and activate the defensive barrier of the mid-grade Great Desolate level necklace battle weapon. However, Long Yu's Dragon's Breath of the 9 underworlds was now a mid-grade divine ability of the 5th divine level. Adding on his recent improvements, the power of this move was unimaginably strong. A mid-grade Great Desolate level defensive weapon? What a joke. The Dragon's Breath of the 9 underworlds arrived. The defensive barrier of the necklace battle weapon did not even last for a breath's time, and was directly shattered into pieces. What followed after was Gongsun Jiaxing himself. The black dragon's breath and black flames burned wantonly in the field, like the merciless dance of the Grim Reaper. Gongsun Jiaxing, the young master of the Gongsun clan, an early-stage king realm expert, was killed by a 5 divine abilities realm brat in a single move. The surrounding crowd was in an uproar. They could not believe what they had just seen. He died just like that. This 5 divine abilities realm brat was too heaven-defying. 1 move to control, 1 move to kill. With just 2 moves, he killed an early-stage king realm expert in an instant. Even the defense of a mid-grade, Great Desolate level combat weapon could not withstand it at all. This made the crowd feel that this brat was not a 5 divine abilities realm expert, but a mid-stage king realm expert. Otherwise, how could he be so quick and decisive? However, look, that brat focused on attacking, but he was also bitten by the 3-headed blazing snake. That's right, the attack of an early-stage king realm expert is definitely not that easy to withstand. I'm afraid this brat won't be able to withstand it. Interesting. Doesn't this mean that both sides are going to perish together? Many people had an expectant look on their faces. It was rare to see both sides perish together in a life-and-death duel. But now, it seemed like it was going to happen. Zissou and Qin Yashuang were watching from the side. They did not expect Gongsun Jiaxing to die so easily, burned into charcoal by the dragon's breath. However, Senior Wang Tai's friend did not seem to be in a good situation either. The 2 women looked at each other and wanted to save Long Yu. After all, to the 2 women, Gongsun Jiaxing was already dead. Their only hope was Senior Wang Tai. However, just as the 2 girls were about to act, a faint voice entered their ears. "Don't worry, I'm fine. Come to the glorious Sun Inn. I'll wait for you there. Tell me what you've encountered." This voice belonged to Senior Wang Tai's friend. The 2 girls looked at each other and couldn't help but look at the scene. The figure was still being burned by the 3-headed blazing snake. Could it be that the brat had used some unknown method to quietly escape? The two girls decided to believe in Long Yu this time, so they turned and walked into the glorious sun and inside the glorious sun inn. Long Yu spent another 10,000 shinbi to rent a courtyard. Standing in front of him were the two girls, Zisu and Qin Yashuang. The two girls' martial Dao talent was not bad. They were already at the early stage of the King realm, but they were only 17 or 18 years old. If Long Yu had two maids like them, it would be good. However, the premise was that Long Yu could solve the problem they were facing. Tell me, what kind of problem did you encounter that you need me to solve for you? Long Yu asked the two girls with his eyes closed while absorbing the spirit energy in the glorious sun formation. Since he was in his true form, he could naturally absorb spirit energy and cultivate. He could also ask the two girls about their situation at the same time, making full use of his time. The two girls, on the other hand, weren't so relaxed. When they entered the glorious sun inn and saw Long Yu standing there unscathed, the shock in their hearts was indescribable. Shock. A mere 5 Dao Divine Realm brat had actually killed the early stage King Realm Gongsun Jiaxing in an instant and escaped perfectly. Even the many Emperor Realm cultivators present hadn't noticed it. Amazing. In reality, Long Yu had used a primordial shadow to forcefully resist the three-headed blazing snake. As for his true form, he had snuck into the glorious sun inn after unleashing the 9 underworld's dragon breath. With his current attack strength, Gongsun Jiaxing would definitely die if he took the 9 underworld's dragon breath while being trapped by the spectral spiral, even if he had a great desolate rank-high, ranked defensive weapon. Long Yu wasn't interested in wasting time on such a useless piece of wood. Senior, may I know how to address you? Qin Yashuang asked Long Yu. Call me Long Yu. Long Yu said straightforwardly. Senior Long's like this. Qin Yashuang glanced at Zisu, then turned back to look at the cultivating Long Yu. She gulped and said, I am the daughter of the Qin family's patriarch in the holy city of the 5 emperors. Zisu is my sister, and we grew up together. Recently, the overall strength of the Qin family has been declining, so my father plans to marry me to a genius from the 9 Sons sect. The genius of the 9 Sons sect, Lan Xuyan. He's about the same age as us, but he's already at the late stage of the King realm. He has also obtained the Flame Emperor's token, and will be able to enter the illusion realm of the 5 emperors next month. As long as he achieves good enough results in the 5 emperors illusion realm, he will officially become the Flame Emperor's direct disciple. If Lan Xian really becomes the Flame Emperor's direct disciple, our Qin family will have no choice but to agree to his request. Although that person is a martial Dao genius, he's a complete scum. He promised to give our Qin family some cultivation resources, but he wants me and Zisu to marry him and become his concubines. At this point, Qin Yashuang stopped and looked at Long Yu with her beautiful eyes. She wanted to see what Long Yu had to say. The 9 Sons sect was a colossus, and ordinary forces didn't dare to go against them. As for Gongsun Jiaxing, the Gongsun family wasn't as strong as the 9 Sons sect, and they were even weaker. However, both sides had enmity, so it was natural that the Gongsun family would choose to help Zisu and Qin Yashuang. But now, what about Long Yu? Qin Yashuang knew that Long Yu was very powerful. He could defeat Gongsun Jiaxing with the cultivation of the 5 Daos Theurgy realm. How could he not be powerful? But this didn't mean that Long Yu could go against the 9 Sons sect. Just Lan Xuyan alone wasn't something that Long Yu could go against. In the world of martial Dao, the strong are respected. Your Qin family has declined, and it's not bad to seek help, but Long Yu said indifferently, your father actually used you as a condition to make the family rich and strong. It's obvious that you're not a good person. I will help you, but I won't help your Qin family. Do you understand? Qin Yashuang immediately understood what he meant. This Long Yu in front of her, indeed, had a way to help her. However, he didn't want to help her Qin family. As for the specific reason, Qin Yashuang naturally didn't know. Long Yu was thinking that if he wanted to help Qin Yashuang and Zisu, he could just let them hide in the Azura Ancient Palace. But if he wanted to help the entire Qin family, the people of the Qin family would not be willing to follow him. Even if they were willing, Long Yu had to weigh the risks. Letting unrelated people know about the existence of the ancient Azura Palace was a very dangerous thing to do. As for Zisu and Qin Yashuang, Long Yu wasn't worried. One had to know that if the two girls didn't want to marry the genius of the Nine Sun sect, Lan Shuyan, they could only trust Long Yu. In this kind of situation, Long Yu had a trace of trust in the two girls. All right, tell me about Lan Shuyan's situation. Since we're going to go against him, of course we have to understand him more. Chapter 769. Very quickly, Long Yu had a good understanding of Nine Sun sect and the genius Lan Shuyan. Since Qin Yashuang and Su were going to be married to Lan Shuyan, of course, they had investigated him. Because of this, the two girls were unwilling to marry Lan Shuyan. Lan Shuyan was 18 this year, but he already had countless women. He was unrestrained and extremely arrogant. He treated women like pets. When he liked them, he would do them every day. When he didn't like them, he would just throw them away. Because Lan Shuyan was the personal disciple of a grand elder in Nine Sun sect, no one in Nine Sun sect dared to offend him. Most people would even flatter him. With Lan Shuyan's current talent, he would definitely become an Emperor Realm expert in the future. He might even become the strongest among Emperor Realm martial cultivators. Originally, Qin Yashuang and Zisu were very against being arranged to be married. They were even more against being arranged to be married to the same man, especially a guy like Lan Shuyan. If they were really married, who knew how long Lan Shuyan would only play with them? Therefore, Qin Yashuang and Zisu had been outside, seeking help. Most people they met didn't dare to offend Nine Sun sect and Lan Shuyan. What a joke. He might become the personal disciple of the Flame Emperor in the future. Who dared to offend him? Offending Lan Shuyan was offending the Flame Emperor. They wouldn't have a good life in the future. The Flame Emperor was one of the strongest 5 emperors in the world. However, this didn't mean anything to Long Yu. Regarding the 5 emperors' illusion realm, I've already learned from Senior Wang Tai what's going on. Long Yu listened to the two girls and smiled. In other words, the current Lan Shuyan is only favored by the Flame Emperor. He was given the Flame Emperor token so that he can enter the 5 emperors' illusion realm. As for whether he becomes the Flame Emperor's personal disciple, it still depends on his performance in the 5 emperors' illusion realm. Right? That's right. Qin Yashuang nodded. The 5 emperors' illusion realm has a total of 33 levels. The condition for the 5 emperors to recruit a personal disciple is to at least step into the 20th level. However, there are hundreds of people who enter the fantasy world of the 5 emperors every year, but only 2 or 3 people can reach this level. The problem is, even if Lan Shuyan can't become the personal disciple of the Flame Emperor, he is still a genius of the Nine Sun sect. In the competition of the strongest king realm next year, he will definitely have a place in the top 10. Zisu added from the side. In other words, no matter what, Lan Shuyan wanted to marry both Qin Yashuang and Zisu at the same time. The only difference was whether he could become the direct disciple of the Flame Emperor. Look what this is. Long Yu thought for a moment, then took out the Red Emperor's token from his bosom. This is the Red Emperor's token? The Red Emperor's token. It's really the Red Emperor's token. Senior Long Yu, you were related to Senior Red Emperor? Once they saw the Scarlet Emperor's token, the two girls immediately became excited. Why was Lan Shuyan so arrogant and overbearing? Because he was undoubtedly a genius, but he was only at the late stage of King Realm. Why didn't the emperors dare to provoke him? It was because he was favored by the Flame Emperor. The Flame Emperor, one of the 5 emperors, one of the 5 strongest people in the Shunwu world. Who would dare to touch someone favored by the Flame Emperor? Because of this, Qin Yashuang and Su couldn't find anyone else to help them. No one dared to provoke Lan Shuyan. But now, Long Yu was different. Long Yu had the Red Emperor's token. He also had the right to enter the fantasy world of the 5 emperors. From this aspect, Long Yu and Lan Shuyan's status were equal. Not to mention, Long Yu hadn't revealed his identity yet. Qin Yashuang and Zisu didn't know what kind of powerful force Long Yu had behind him. From the two women's point of view, Long Yu definitely had a powerful force behind him, which was why he dared to oppose Nine Sun's sect. Otherwise, wouldn't he be courting death? Also, no matter if it was Long Yu or Senior Wang Tai, they were all extravagant. Coming to the glorious sun, and was definitely not a normal force. When the two women saw the Red Emperor's token, they finally saw hope and had confidence in Long Yu. The fantasy world of the Five Emperors opens at the beginning of every month. Lan Shuyan will enter at the beginning of next month. Long Yu smirked. Then I'll go in with him and make a bet with him. If his results in the Five Emperors' fantasy world aren't as good as mine, then he has to give you two beauties to me. With his arrogant and despotic personality, he definitely won't reject such a bet. Right? Qin Yishuang and Zisu trembled. Of course he will accept, but are you sure you can surpass him in the Five Emperors' fantasy world? I'm not sure. Long Yu spread his hands. But this is the easiest method. There is no other way. Don't you think so? Qin Yishuang's face paled, and she clearly didn't feel well. Am I going to rely on this person for the rest of my life? I still have to look forward to him getting better results than Lan Shuyan in the Five Emperors' fantasy world. Shuang, we should believe in Senior Long Yu. Zisu, who was wearing purple, laughed softly. She looked at Qin Yishuang and said, since we don't have any other way, why don't we make a bet? Even if Senior Long loses, it won't be a loss for us. Plus, I feel that Senior Long will definitely win. And that's true. Let's do it this way. Qin Yishuang nodded helplessly. Since that's the case, you two are my maids now, right? Long Yu let out a sigh of relief. He had finally convinced these two girls. Next, he had to prepare to go to the Su Medicine Hall to participate in the month-end auction. The first thing he had to do was to use the Book of Shadows to scan one of the girls so that he could change into her appearance and look like an early-stage King Realm cultivator. Follow me. From today until the opening of the Five Emperors' fantasy world, you two can stay here and cultivate. As for me, I still have many other things to do. Long Yu waved his hand and gestured for the two girls to follow him into the room. The two girls looked at each other in dismay. They didn't know why Long Yu called them into the house. However, the two girls swallowed their saliva and went in. No matter what, being able to stay in the brilliant sun was very attractive. It's like this. I want to go to the Su Medicine Hall to participate in the month-end auction. However, my cultivation hasn't reached the King Realm, so I'm not qualified to enter. After entering the room, Long Yu closed the door and glanced at the two girls. So, you want us to help you participate in the Su Medicine Hall's auction? The two girls suddenly understood. No. Long Yu shook his head and raised his hand. I just want to disguise myself as one of you and participate in the auction. Book of Shadows. Long Yu directly used his fifth ability, the Book of Shadows. A pitch-black page appeared, and a dim light shone on the white-clothed Qin Yashuang. Qin Yashuang was shocked. However, when she felt that she didn't feel any discomfort, she restrained herself and didn't resist. Very quickly, the image in the Book of Shadows changed into Qin Yashuang's appearance. Look, the corners of Long Yu's mouth curled up. With a thought, he changed into Qin Yashuang's appearance. In the room, there were two identical Qin Yashuangs. The two girls instantly broke out in a cold sweat. They suddenly thought that if Long Yu could change his appearance like this, then Senior Wang Tai. Are you called Long Yu or Wang Tai? Zisu asked subconsciously. No, I'm called Qin Yashuang now. The white-clothed woman Long Yu transformed and smiled. No matter how you looked at her, you couldn't find any difference between her and the real Qin Yashuang. Of course, I was originally called Long Yu. Wang Tai is just one of my identities. Long Yu waved his hand. He felt that it was very awkward to transform into a woman. It was even more awkward than transforming into an ice god race beast. But luckily, he only needed to participate in the Su Medicine Hall's auction once. He didn't need to continue like this. Otherwise, Long Yu would probably die of depression. In any case, he had already reached an agreement with the two women. There was no need for Long Yu to hide it anymore. In any case, the fate of the two women was in Long Yu's hands. Long Yu was not afraid of the two women revealing this secret. As for the future, so what if it was leaked? When Long Yu used the Book of Shadows to transform, there were no flaws at all. Even if they knew that he could transform, they wouldn't be able to detect it. That night, Long Yu transformed into a shadow and directly left the holy city of the five emperors. At this time, the surroundings of the glorious sun were filled with scouts from the Gongsun family. The young master of the Gongsun family, Gongsun Jiaxing, was killed in front of the glorious sun inn. Of course, the entire Gongsun family was furious. Although Gongsun Jiaxing wasn't very talented in martial arts, he was still the young master of the Gongsun family, and he was killed just like that. Where the Gongsun family put their face. Although the onlookers said that the life and death duel ended in mutual destruction, the Gongsun family naturally wouldn't let it go so easily. They heard that Gongsun Jiaxing came out of the glorious sun inn with two girls. And the life and death duel was also because of those two girls. The Qin family. Just as Long Yu transformed into a shadow and quietly left the holy city of the five emperors, the Gongsun family's patriarch, Gongsun Jiaxing's father, personally led a group of people to the Qin family's residence in the city. The Qin family had declined, but the Gongsun family was still a rather powerful family in the holy city of the five emperors. Their overall strength was many times stronger than the Qin family. Even if the Qin family's patriarch didn't want to reject them like this, it was impossible for him to refuse. When the Qin family's patriarch, Qin Yashuang's father, received the news, he immediately sent a message to the Ninth Sun sect. However, he received an indifferent reply from Lan Shuyan. He hadn't married the two girls yet, so don't even think about asking him to come and help. The Qin family's patriarch's face instantly darkened. This Lan Shuyan was really as the rumors said. Send someone to the glorious sun inn and call them back. As two girls, they actually hang around the glorious sun inn all day. They're simply a disgrace to the Qin family. Chapter 770. The Qin family head was given the cold shoulder at the Sunshine Inn. When Qin Yashuang and Zi Su heard that the Qin family head was outside, they didn't want to pay any attention to him. Qin Yashuang especially didn't want to recognize the Qin family head as her father. All along, the Qin family head had never paid attention to Qin Yashuang. In the Qin family, all kinds of cultivation resources were given to her brothers. Great desolate rank pills? Her brothers could get an upper rank pill every month, but she didn't even have a low rank pill. She could only get 100 shinbi. What could she buy with such a small amount of money? Even a low rank, great desolate rank pill was more than that. To be honest, Qin Yashuang didn't have any feelings for the Qin family head. The only reason she stayed in the Qin family was because her mother was still there. And now, the so-called father of the Qin family, who had always been indifferent to her and had only seen her a few times, wanted to marry her and her maidservant sister Zi Su to the so-called genius of the Nine Suns sect, Lan Shuyan. Qin family head, your daughter doesn't want to see you right now. Please go back. Outside the courtyard Long Yu had rented, the Peak Emperor Realm's steward of the Sunshine and spoke to the Qin family head in golden armor. The Qin family head was a great Emperor Realm expert, but he didn't dare show the slightest bit of temper in front of this old steward. Steward, my daughter is truly unfilial. She colluded with outsiders to kill the young master of the Gongsun family. This is truly infuriating. Please make an exception. Today, my daughter must go out and apologize to the Gongsun family. The Qin family had suppressed the anger in his heart and spoke to the old steward. The old steward laughed softly. Let's go. Do you want to cause trouble at the Sunshine Inn? This old man has seen everything that happened today. That Gongsun family brat was killed in a life and death gamble. The great Gongsun family can't even bear the consequences of a life and death gamble. Can they? It was obvious that the old steward despised the Gongsun family's actions, but he wouldn't interfere in this matter. As for the Gongsun family wanting to cause trouble for the Qin family, they could do it. What did it have to do with him? As long as the other party didn't cause trouble in the brilliant Sun Inn, he couldn't be bothered with them. And now, Qin Yishuang and Zi Su were tenants of the Glorious Sun Inn. Since they paid, the Glorious Sun Inn would naturally ensure their safety. Hearing the old housekeeper's words, the head of the Qin family immediately turned around and left with a black face. He knew that he couldn't cause trouble here, unless he wanted the entire Qin clan to be destroyed. In the entire holy city of the 5 emperors, who would dare to cause trouble in the Glorious Sun Inn? The wrath of a spirit array master was not something that just anyone could bear. Although the spirit array master was not one of the 5 emperors, he had a good relationship with the current 5 emperors. He was even responsible for the construction of the residences of the 5 emperors. It could be said that provoking a spirit array master was equivalent to provoking the entire alliance of 5 emperors. No one would do such a stupid thing. Since Qin Yishuang and Zi Su didn't appear, then the head of the Qin family could only use compensation to appease the Gongsun family's wrath. The genius of the Ninth Sun sect, Lan Shuyin, also didn't want to make a move. Since that was the case, compensation was the only choice. How much would the death of the Gongsun family's young master take to appease their wrath? 100,000 shinbi? What a joke. The compensation from the Gongsun family was at least 1,000,000 shinbi. Otherwise, the entire Qin family would definitely bear their wrath. Although the 5 emperors couldn't fight privately in the holy city, the Qin family couldn't just stay in the 5 emperors' holy city forever, right? The Gongsun family was more powerful than the Qin family. Thus, the Qin family could only choose to pay compensation and bear their wrath. Inside the Glorious Sun Inn, the purple-clothed beauty Zi Su looked at Qin Yishuang with some apprehension. "Miss, is it really okay to not see your father like this?" The white-clothed beauty Qin Yishuang shook her head. Her eyes were filled with regret. What's the difference between seeing him or not? In any case, he doesn't see me as his daughter. Most likely, he wants to hand me over to the Gongsun family to appease their wrath. Hee. Does he really think I'm just a tool that he gave birth to? Ever since I was young, I, Qin Yishuang, have never relied on my family on my martial path. All the cultivation resources were obtained by risking my life. Zisu, you also know how difficult it is. After all, you and I have walked this path together. Qin Yishuang looked at Zisu and smiled. Zisu, if Senior Long can really surpass Lan Shuyin, then let's follow him in the future. What do you think? I think it's not a bad idea, but your mother, Zisu, was a little hesitant. At that time, I will ask Senior Long to bring my mother. Qin Yishuang made up her mind. No matter what Senior Long wants me to do, I will agree. The Qin family, I don't want to stay in such a family anymore. Zisu looked at Qin Yishuang, her eyes flashing with agreement. Well said, Mississippi. Right now, the Qin family is a pile of mud that can't even support a wall. Your brothers are much older than you, and the cultivation resources allocated to them are many times more than yours. However, none of them have stepped into the Emperor realm. So many resources are given to those trash. What's the use? Miss Martial Dao talent is obviously the highest, but the entire Qin family doesn't care about you at all. They even treat you like a commodity to be traded. It was inherited from Jiuyo Dragon Emperor. In a battle, only knowing one move was too limiting. Long Yu hoped to learn another ancient martial technique. That way, he would be more flexible. Previously, he obtained many martial techniques from the Red Emperor Illusion World, such as Migra Star Shield and Fecta Star Fist. However, these were great Desolate-level martial techniques. Long Yu didn't want to waste time on them. If he wanted to learn, he had to learn something that was strong enough. At least, it had to be able to crush others. Anyway, Long Yu had enough resources by his side. He didn't need to worry about not being able to learn it. He also didn't need to worry about not having enough good martial techniques to learn. The Death Envoy definitely had many ancient martial techniques. He even had immemorial martial techniques. Everything depended on whether the Death Envoy was willing to teach it to Long Yu. When Long Yu returned to the Azura Ancient Palace, he called the Death Envoy to discuss with him. Senior Envoy, teach me another immemorial martial technique. How about it? I am about to enter the illusion world of the Five Emperors. It is said that I can quickly increase my comprehension of martial arts and techniques. Long Yu directly stated his request. The Death Envoy didn't remain silent. He quickly replied, "Do you know that the more I teach you, the easier it is for others to detect my existence? The people of the Alliance of Five Emperors aren't fools. If there aren't enough benefits, I won't do anything stupid. Do you think my fifth technique is not bad?" Hearing this, Long Yu smiled. Since the Death Envoy wanted some benefits, he would give it a try. Think about it. If I use the Book of Shadows to imitate a beast and sneak into a beast's nest, wouldn't it be much easier to move around? I have thought of this before. However, it is too dangerous. The Death Envoy muttered, "If you use the Book of Shadows to imitate it, even I won't be able to distinguish the real from the fake. That is because it is the real thing. However, I can't guarantee that those beasts won't be able to find you. No matter what, I can give it a try." Long Yu spread his hands. "Senior Envoy, teach me a martial technique. I will risk my life for you. If I can obtain a Divine Rune Origin Stone, it will be yours." "Deal." The Death Envoy's voice sounded. Along with it was a jade slip. Most secret martial arts were cultivated on this principle. Opening up different special meridians would bestow different special abilities to the cultivator. Balance control would bestow a cultivator with extremely precise perception and detailed control over various powers. As long as one successfully cultivated balance control, even if it was only the first level, they would be able to keenly sense the changes in the flow of power around them. Therefore, if I cultivate balance control, I will be able to perceive which part of the opponent's attack is weaker and which part is stronger. Combined with balance control, I can carry out targeted defense by relying on the fallen Dark Star. In this way, when facing a large-scale attack of the same strength, I will only need to consume 1/10 or even 1/100th of my original strength to resist it. Powerful. The fallen Dark Star was absolutely powerful. As long as he really cultivated balance control and fallen Dark Star, Long Yu could easily defend against the attacks of experts who were much stronger than him. For example, he could defend against the attacks of a late-stage King Stage powerhouse when he was at the early stage of the King Stage. Most importantly, because this fallen Dark Star consumes very little energy, there's almost no pressure on the meridians when I use it. In other words, I can use it continuously. Long Yu became even more excited. This point was meaningless for a martial cultivator who had stepped into the mid-stage King Stage, because mid-stage King Stage martial cultivators mainly tempered their meridians. They had reached the point where their meridians wouldn't be exhausted no matter what method they used. But for the current Long Yu, this point was extremely important. Simply put, he had an additional defensive skill that he could use continuously, and this would become his greatest asset when fighting against mid-stage King Stage martial cultivators. Originally, although Long Yu had improved a lot, he wasn't sure if he could defeat a mid-stage King Stage martial cultivator. But as long as he cultivated the Fallen Dark Star, this wouldn't be a problem. Long Yu cultivated in the Azura Ancient Palace for a night and left early the next morning. One night's time wasn't enough for him to successfully learn the Fallen Dark Star martial skill, but it allowed him to understand some of the principles behind it. He wasn't far from officially learning it. Today is the day of the Sioux clan's Medicine Hall's auction. It's time to go in. Long Yu returned to the holy city of the Five Emperors and paid 100 shunbi with his original appearance. After entering the holy city of the Five Emperors, he directly walked towards the Sioux clan's Medicine Hall. When he approached the Sioux clan's Medicine Hall's auction house, he directly transformed into Qin Yashuang, a beautiful woman in white. Long Yu didn't feel awkward at all. After all, this was just his current appearance. His real body was inside the Book of Shadows. After transforming into Qin Yashuang, Long Yu looked exactly the same as her. He wore white clothes, had a tall stature, was an early-stage King Stage martial cultivator, and his appearance was picturesque, attracting the attention of many people. After successfully entering the Sioux clan's Medicine Hall, Long Yu directly called for a manager, paid 10,000 shunbi, and directly asked for a VIP room. He didn't want to be stared at like a beauty in the auction hall. The person presiding over this auction was Su Ningan herself. After Long Yu stepped into the VIP room, Su Ningan appeared in the auction hall. Standing on the stage, she smiled and announced the start of the month's end of auction. She looked beautiful under the light, attracting the attention of countless martial cultivators in the hall. Long Yu didn't care what Su Ningan was saying to stir up the atmosphere of the auction hall. He only cared about the things he was about to bid on: the Shadow Imperial Pill, the Yang Sealing Pill, and the Void Ghost Pill. These three were all great desolate grade pills. Among them, the Shadow Imperial Pill could increase Long Yu's compatibility with Shadow attribute divine characters. The Yang Sealing Pill was a life-saving pill. After taking it, even if the body was completely destroyed, it could be regrown. As for the Void Ghost Pill, it was an explosive pill for Shadow attribute divine characters. As long as one took the Void Ghost Pill, the power of any martial arts technique or magic with Shadow attribute divine characters would increase by 3 times. It was equivalent to raising the cultivator's martial arts realm by 1 level. I must get 3 Shadow Imperial Pills. It would be best if I could get 3 Void Ghost Pills. As for the Yang Sealing Pill, I must get at least 1, Long Yu thought to himself. At this time, the auctions in the auction hall had already begun. At the beginning, there were some inferior desolate grade pills. They were all sold as a package. There was even a set of 100 inferior desolate grade pills. The auction price was equivalent to 1 superior desolate grade pill. In comparison, the amount of spiritual chi contained in the 2 sets was about the same. The only difference was that the 100 inferior desolate grade pills were more suitable for the younger generation with lower cultivation. That way, they wouldn't absorb too much spiritual chi at the same time and explode. A set of 100 kinds of low-grade desolation level elixirs was indeed good for the younger generation of some forces. Long Yu was tempted when he saw it. If he had some spare money, he could buy some for the people in the heavenly mandate manner. But now, Long Yu didn't know if he had enough divine coins to bid for the elixirs he needed. Anyway, such an auction would be held every month. Long Yu would satisfy his needs first. Chapter 772. After the fruit of life, nothing else that Long Yu needed appeared. This was especially so for the great desolate grade martial techniques. Long Yu did not even care about them. Even if it was a superior desolate grade martial technique, it was meaningless to Long Yu if it didn't have any special effects. Cultivating it was just a waste of time. Therefore, he focused all his attention on the last item. When the ancient elixir appeared, Long Yu pondered for a moment and then gave up on competing. If the Su Medicine Hall had 5 types of low ancient rank pills and 2 mid-ancient rank pills like the Lin Shop, he would need at least 1,000,000 Shinbi to bid for all of them. If Long Yu had the spare cash, he would be more than happy to bid for one of each. Unfortunately, he had to invest all of his resources into the transcendent desolate grade pills. He couldn't afford to lose this batch of pills. Therefore, he couldn't spend his Shinbi elsewhere. Not to mention, he didn't really need cultivation pills at the moment. He had 2 Emperor Realm crystals on him, which was equivalent to 10 mid-ancient rank pills. His Sky Pivot Chi drawing technique hadn't reached the transformative stage yet, so it would be a waste to absorb them. It won't be too late for me to bid for these ancient rank pills when my Sky Pivot Chi drawing technique reaches the transformative stage, Long Yu thought to himself. It wasn't long before the auction for the transcendent desolate grade pills arrived. Shadow Imperial Pill, Spirit Sealing Yang Pill, Void Phantom Pill. Of the 3 types of pills, the Mirage Ghost Pill was placed at the forefront. According to past experiences, the Mirage Ghost Pill would fetch the lowest price out of the 3. The starting bid was 100,000, with a single increment of 10,000. Those who came to the Su Medicine Hall's auction were all wealthy. Many of them were compatible with the Shadow Divine Rune, so they had a high demand for the Void Phantom Pill. The price quickly rose to 250,000 Shinbi, and it was still rising. Long Yu did a quick calculation. He still had a little over 4 million Shinbi on him for 100,000. Long Yu bid without hesitation. This price cooled the atmosphere once more. However, many people noticed that the bidder for the fruit of life this time was from the same VIP room. Could it be that the person in the VIP room has both Shadow and Life Divine runes? When one reached the Emperor Path Arcane Realm, it was not a rare thing to have a dual elemental affinity. As long as one stepped into the Emperor Path Arcane Realm, they could build an inner world and obtain some special treasures to become a dual elemental affinity. For example, the cold lotus fruit produced by the North Snow Empire. With a bid of 400,000 Shinbi, no one dared to compete with Long Yu. The next two Mirage Ghost Pills were also won by Long Yu for 400,000 Shinbi. Clearly, 400,000 Shinbi was beyond the bottom line of most people. In this auction, there was a rich person bidding for the Mirage Ghost Pill. They could just give up on this opportunity and come back next month to compete. Generally speaking, the final bid of a Mirage Ghost Pill was around 350,000 Shinbi. To many people, the Mirage Ghost Pill wasn't something that could save their lives. Even if they used it, they would be able to instantly unleash 3 times the power of their Shadow Attribute Divine Runes. In many situations, it wasn't very useful, and it wasn't worth it to spend too much to compete for it. But the following Shadow Royal Pill was different. A single Shadow Royal Pill was enough to allow a cultivator with level 4 synchronization with the Shadow Attribute Divine Runes to directly reach level 5 synchronization, becoming an existence capable of comprehending divine chains. In the holy city of the 5 emperors, it wasn't rare to find existences capable of comprehending divine chains in the mystic secret realm. At the very least, the personal disciples of the 5 emperors, the talented powerhouses of the Alliance of 5 Emperors, and even some of the young geniuses of the large factions could all do this. Thus, the Shadow Royal Pill was extremely important to cultivators who were compatible with the Shadow Attribute Divine Runes. 3 pills, I must get them. This was an extremely important part of Long Yu's cultivation plan, and he couldn't afford any mistakes. Thus, when the auction began, Long Yu directly bid 500,000 Shinbi. In previous auctions of the Su Clan Medicine Hall, the Shadow Royal Pill could be sold for around 500,000 Shinbi. Everyone looked over and saw that it was the VIP who was bidding for the Mirage Ghost Pill. They couldn't help but be shocked. Just how much money did that guy have on him to be able to afford so many things? It seemed like this month's Su Clan Medicine Hall auction wasn't friendly to everyone. 550,000. However, the Shadow Royal Pill was much more attractive than the Mirage Ghost Pill. Someone still bid 550,000 Shinbi. 600,000. Long Yu directly increased the price, overshadowing that person's bid. 600,000 going once. 600,000 going twice. 600,000 sold. The witch Su Ning and looked meaningfully at the VIP room that Long Yu was in and quickly announced that this Shadow Royal Pill belonged to Long Yu. For the next 2 pills, Long Yu directly bid 600,000 Shinbi. Everyone in the auction began to calculate carefully and finally gave up on competing. No matter what, the pills being auctioned right now weren't the only ones that would appear this time. They would be auctioned every month by the Su Clan Medicine Hall. Therefore, if the price exceeded their expectations by too much, the cultivators who originally wanted to buy would all give up. It was just another month they could afford to wait. 400,000 plus 600,000, each multiplied by 3, a total of 3 million is gone. Long Yu won the item he wanted. His lips curled up slightly. With this, his compatibility with the Shadow Divine Rune would quickly reach the 7th level. For a Transcendent Realm cultivator, this was simply unimaginable. Even if a normal cultivator had 3 Shadow Royal Pills, so what? The effect of Long Yu absorbing the Shadow Royal Pill was 3 times that of a normal cultivator. With the addition of the Dubhe Chi drawing technique, it was enough to make everyone else feel ashamed. The same Shadow Royal Pill, due to the fact that there was a diminishing effect, Long Yu's 3 pills were more effective than a normal cultivator's pills. 100? 1,000? 10,000? No, it was impossible. No matter how many others took, it couldn't compare to the 3 Shadow Royal pills that Long Yu took. This was because after a certain number of times, the effects of the Shadow Royal pill on a cultivator would be almost negligible. This was the heaven-defying reason why Long Yu could completely absorb the pill's effects. Next up, the Spirit Sealing Rejuvenation Pill. A single Spirit Sealing Rejuvenation Pill is equivalent to a life. It's a transcendent, desolate grade pill, and the bidding starts at 200,000 Shinbi. Each increment is at least 10,000 Shinbi. The witch Su Ningyan took out another great desolate grade pellet. The entire Su Medicine Hall's auction would always end with the sealed Yang return pellet. This was also the most expensive item in most auctions. Basically, every sealed Yang pill could be sold for more than 1,000,000 Shinbi. This was because it represented a second life for a cultivator. 1,000,000! Someone directly shouted, causing everyone to be speechless. After all, this was the first sealed Yang pill. They didn't even know how many people were competing for it. Was this really good? One had to know that on average, a sealed Yang pill could be sold for 1,000,000 Shinbi. But sometimes, if there weren't too many people competing, it could be sold for 800,000 or 900,000 Shinbi. This was the benefit of increasing the price bit by bit. Now that someone directly raised the price to 1,000,000 Shinbi, everyone was speechless. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and directly raised the price. 1,000,000 Shinbi. Right now, he still had 2,000,000 on him, so he could only bid 1,000,000 for the sealed Spirit Yang Restoration Pill. As for this kind of life-saving pill, he only needed 1. If 1,000,000 was the price everyone was thinking about, then 1,000,000 was obviously a bit too high. There were even some black market merchants present. When they heard this price, they immediately cursed in their hearts. They were thinking that if they could buy it for 800,000 or 900,000 Shinbi, they would be able to make a profit of 100,000 or 200,000 Shinbi. This was also a considerable amount of wealth. There were many such black market merchants, but it was clear that they wouldn't have a chance in this month's end-of-month auction. Long Yu obtained a Spirit Sealing Yang return pill for 1,000,000. As for the other 2 pills, they were sold for 1,000,000 and 15,000,000 respectively. Overall, Long Yu wasn't a spendthrift. In fact, it didn't matter even if Long Yu suffered some losses. To him, Shinbi came too easily. There was no need to waste too much time on a few 100,000 Shinbi. The most important thing to him wasn't to earn money, but to cultivate. After the 3 sealed Yang pills were sold, the Su Clan Medicine Hall's end-of-month auction came to an end. Next, it was time for the Su Clan Medicine Hall to deliver the items they had bought and collect Shinbi. If you bid for something, but you can't pay the Shinbi, sorry, you will be blacklisted by the Su Clan Medicine Hall. You will never be able to step into the Su Clan Medicine Hall again. Moreover, all your wealth will be taken away. This way of dealing with it, cultivators who stepped into the Su Clan Medicine Hall wouldn't dare to act recklessly. What surprised Long Yu was that the person who came to deliver the item was actually the demoness Su Ningyan. This made him a little vigilant. So it's Miss Qin Yashuang. I've seen you many times before. I heard that you participated in the murder of the Gongsun clan's young master at the Sunshine Inn yesterday. Demoness Su Ningyan walked into the VIP room alone and smiled at Long Yu. The current Long Yu looked like Qin Yashuang. Even the Emperor Realm Demoness Su Ningyan couldn't recognize him. Speaking like this right from the start, does Su Ningyan have a grudge against Qin Yashuang? Long Yu was puzzled, but he didn't want to stay here any longer. Therefore, he didn't say much and just said, "Here's for 1,000,000 Shinbi. Give it to me." Su Ningyan's brows twitched. She didn't understand why Qin Yashuang would speak so stiffly. She was a little puzzled. She looked at Long Yu more carefully, but she didn't find anything strange. Although I don't know why you want these things, it must be related to your closest backer. I will send someone to escort you to the Sunshine Inn. Su Ning and asked tentatively. The Su Clan Medicine Hall had a rule to protect high-priced bidders. Therefore, it was normal to send someone to escort Long Yu to a safe place. However, Long Yu didn't need this kind of service. No need. It's fine as long as you don't reveal my identity. The corner of Long Yu's mouth curled. He shook his head and took the pill bottles from Su Ningyan. Then, he turned around and left. Seeing his leaving figure, Su Ningguang became more and more puzzled. However, she didn't ask anything in the end. She just waved her hand and instructed someone behind her, Su Jianbai, go protect Miss Qin Yashuang. But be careful not to let her find out. Yes. The white-haired youth who had followed Su Ningguang before, an Emperor realm expert, immediately obeyed the order. He followed behind Long Yu and quietly walked out of the Su clan medicine hall. Chapter 773. After leaving the Su clan's medicine hall, Long Yu walked towards the brilliant Sun Inn. Although I can't sense it now, that which Su must have sent someone to follow me. It doesn't matter if it's to protect me or if she has other intentions. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and ignored it. The other party wouldn't do anything to him anyway. After an hour, Long Yu returned to the brilliant Sun Inn and stepped inside. The feeling of being followed finally disappeared. Even if the other party was from the Su clan's medicine hall, they wouldn't dare to follow him inside the brilliant Sun Inn. However, after Long Yu stepped inside, the old steward at the Peak Emperor realm looked at him meaningfully. Did he see through me? Long Yu's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't stop and walked towards the courtyard he rented. There was a Qin Yashuang in the courtyard that never left. Now, that a Qin Yashuang came in from outside, it was normal for the old steward to find out that something was wrong. However, as the steward of the brilliant Sun Inn, he didn't meddle in other people's business. He didn't need to care about the customer's business. Moreover, he wouldn't tell others about this. Otherwise, who would dare to cultivate at the brilliant Sun Inn in peace? It was because of their reputation that the brilliant Sun Inn's price remained high. After passing through the brilliant Sun formation with the brilliant Sun Inn's token and returning to his courtyard, Long Yu saw Qin Yashuang and Su cultivating and absorbing spirit energy. He didn't disturb them. Change. Long Yu transformed back to his original form and walked into the room. There were still 5 days before the opening of the 5 Emperor Fantasy Worlds at the beginning of the month. In these 5 days, Long Yu would strive to comprehend the basic level of the Fallen Dark Star martial technique and consume some medicinal pills, striving to completely master the balance control. Cultivating a martial Dao secret technique didn't require anything else. It only required enough spirit energy of heaven and earth. A huge amount of spirit energy. However, this was not a problem for Long Yu. If it weren't for the fact that he wanted to wait until the Dubhe Chi guiding technique reached the transcendent state before absorbing most of the elixirs, he would have been able to cultivate the balance control secret technique long ago. The illusion world of the 5 emperors was about to open, so Long Yu needed to improve his combat effectiveness. The simplest way to do this was to comprehend the Fallen Dark Star and combine it with balance control. Therefore, this was the goal of Long Yu's cultivation for the past 5 days. As a martial arts secret method, the amount of spiritual energy of heaven and earth required to cultivate the first level is enough for a martial practitioner in the 6 Daos Divine Power Realm to advance to the 7 Daos Divine Power Realm. Even in the Beyond Heaven's world, most of the people who cultivate the martial arts secret method are experts in the Emperor Path secret realm. Long Yu thought to himself as he took out all the great desolate grade, low-grade pills from the storage space of the Void Spirit Dragon Blade. On the way to the holy city of the 5 emperors, Long Yu had been buying and collecting along the way, so he now had a total of over 400 great desolate grade, low-grade pills, of which there were a total of over 200 different kinds. If he were to consume all of these pills, then most of the great desolate grade low-grade pills in the Shenwu world would have been consumed. The lower grade, great desolate level medicinal pills were suitable for cultivators at his current martial arts realm. Although there were more than 400 of them, many of them were repeated. Therefore, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was only equal to 3 or 4 upper grade, great desolate level medicinal pills. Let's absorb all the spiritual energy of these pills first. Long Yu didn't think too much about it and used the Void Spirit Dragon Blade to absorb the great desolate grade, low-grade pills' spiritual energy. Furthermore, because of the Dubhe Chi guiding technique, The power of the Dubhe star descended from the sky and increased the effect of these pills by 30%. Absorb. Open the balance control secret meridian. Long Yu began to absorb the spiritual energy of these pills into his body. Then follow the envoy of death's instructions to condense the spirit energy in his body and try to open the secret meridian. This process took Long Yu an entire night, but when it was over, the balance control secret meridian still hadn't formed yet. Seems like there wasn't enough spiritual energy. Long Yu then took out over 300 great desolate grade, mid-grade pills and prepared to consume them. In the entire Shenwu world, there probably isn't a single person who can consume pills like him. It's as if he's eating a meal. It's not that other people don't have enough money to buy so many pills, but rather, cultivators at Long Yu's level can't handle the impact of so much spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Only Long Yu can use this spiritual energy to open the secret meridian and consume it in time to ensure that his body doesn't explode and die. After another day, Long Yu has absorbed over 100 great desolate grade, mid-grade pills spirit energy, and the secret meridian in his body finally began to form. Unbelievable. Just successfully cultivating balance control secret meridian requires so much spiritual energy. Even if this martial arts secret technique were to be spread, normal people wouldn't be able to cultivate it. Long Yu couldn't help but sigh. It's clear that secret meridian techniques are extremely difficult for thaumaturgy realm cultivators, but once they reach the Emperor realm, it'll be a bit easier. Because once they reach the Emperor realm, they'll be able to create their inner world, and the speed at which they absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth will increase by a lot. But no matter what, after absorbing all of the great desolate grade low-grade pills, as well as over 100 great desolate grade mid-grade pills, Long Yu finally succeeded in cultivating balance control secret meridian. The moment the special meridians within his body opened up, Long Yu felt as though his entire person had changed. My perception of power is so sensitive. Long Yu was pleasantly surprised to find that the same martial arts technique, after he successfully cultivated balance control secret meridian, had a completely different effect. For example, the Nether Dragon 9 explosions. Originally, it was difficult for him to control the direction of the Nether Dragon 9 explosions, and he had always attacked in all directions. But now, he could control the power of the Nether Dragon 9 explosions to attack from a certain direction. And because of the concentration of power, he felt like it was even more powerful. The first stage of balance control secret meridian, although it didn't increase my total power, it increased the effect of most martial arts techniques. Long Yu was extremely excited. This was indeed one of the 3 secret martial arts techniques that the Geo Dragon Emperor had mastered. Just the first stage had such a heaven-defying effect. If he continued to cultivate it, how powerful would he be? Why was the spatial penetration technique that was compatible with the Nether Dragon Blade so powerful? Because this technique focused Long Yu's power on one point, it had a stronger penetrative power. After cultivating balance control secret meridian, Long Yu could apply this principle to other martial arts techniques. For example, the Nether Dragon 9 explosions, Ancient Desolate Shadow Kill, Dragon Breath of the 9 Underworlds, and so on. The most obvious was the 7th grade God Chain, the Nether Spiral. Originally, when Long Yu raised his hand, he could release a large area of 7th grade God Chain. Although the entanglement effect was good, it was only used against weak opponents. It was useless against strong opponents, and the opponent would break free from it. But now, Long Yu could use balance control secret meridian to shrink the area of effect of the Nether Spiral again and again, and even to attack a single target. The total power did not change, but after shrinking the area, the effect of entanglement on a single target was greatly increased. Even now, Long Yu felt that if he used this technique, he could definitely trap a mid-stage king realm martial artist for at least 3 breaths of time. This was much more powerful than the previous 1 breath of time. With 3 breaths of time as a buffer, even if Long Yu couldn't defeat a mid-stage king realm martial artist, he could still escape calmly, and his safety was greatly guaranteed. Amazing, amazing! Long Yu laughed. He was very satisfied with the effect of balance control, secret meridian. In addition to enhancing the effect of his martial arts techniques, balance control secret meridian could also see through the weakness of the enemy's defense, detect the balance of the opponent's attack power, and deal with it accordingly. Although this martial arts technique did not directly increase his strength, the increase in his combat ability was undoubtedly extremely terrifying. Next, as long as I comprehend the Fallen Dark Star martial arts technique, ordinary mid-stage king realm martial artists will definitely not be my opponent. Long Yu thought to himself, and then he began to comprehend the Fallen Dark Star martial arts technique. This martial arts technique condensed the power of the Shadow Divine text into a small pitch-black light shield and targeted defense, so it was not difficult to cultivate in the early stages. Long Yu spent more than 2 days to comprehend the basics of the Fallen Dark Star, and the next step was actual combat. Without actual combat experience, Long Yu did not have much confidence in the Five Emperors illusion world. As for the opponents for actual combat, was there a need to say? Of course, it was Qin Yashuang and Zi Su. The two women had been accompanying Long Yu in the glorious sun in these days, and when they heard Long Yu wanted to spar, of course, they agreed without hesitation. On the last day, Long Yu spent his time exchanging pointers, greatly improving his mastery of Fallen Dark Star. In fact, Long Yu was just a little bit away from reaching the threshold of small success, but in the end, he was still just a little bit away. An ancient transcendent rank martial arts technique was not so easy to cultivate. Qin Yashuang and Zi Su were extremely surprised by the combat power that Long Yu displayed in the sparring. They knew very well that Long Yu indeed only had the cultivation of the five Taoist divinity, but even so, when facing the attacks of two early-stage king realm martial artists, he was calm and did not panic at all. Furthermore, no matter how they attacked, they were actually unable to injure Long Yu in the slightest. All of their attacks were blocked by a small pitch-black light shield that he had condensed. Furthermore, every single time, that small pitch-black light shield would appear at the point where their attacks were the most tyrannical. As for the other parts of the attack that were not very strong, Long Yu could actually block them with just his physical body, which was simply unbelievable. One had to know that Long Yu was only at the five Taoist divinity realm. If he stepped into the king realm, wouldn't he be able to be among the best in the competition of the strongest king realm? It's about time, let's go. The day of the opening of the Five Emperors fantasy world had finally arrived. Long Yu directly brought Qin Yashuang and Zi Su and prepared to go to the White Sacred Tower in the center of the Five Emperors sacred city. This sacred tower was thousands of feet high, and it went straight into the clouds. No one could see its top, and it was even rumored that this tower was the only passage that led directly to outer space. Regarding this statement, the Alliance of Five Emperors did not confirm it, but they did not deny it either, which added a more mysterious color to the White Sacred Tower. Chapter 774. Qin Yashuang and Zi Su were a bit nervous about Long Yu wanting to bring them along, because the two girls knew very well that if Long Yu's results in the Five Emperors illusion realm couldn't compare to Lan Shuyan, then they would have to marry Lan Shuyan. Although Long Yu hadn't proposed a bet to Lan Shuyan yet, with Lan Shuyan's personality, he would definitely agree to it. If Long Yu wins, then the two girls will be saved. If Lan Shuyan wins, then the two girls will be his. We can't hide here forever. Let's go take a look. This is a battle that will decide our fate. I don't want to miss it. Zi Su said to Qin Yashuang. Qin Yashuang slowly nodded, then took a step forward and followed Long Yu. Every month, when the Five Emperors illusion realm opens, around 10 young geniuses will step into it. This will attract many nobles in the city to watch. After all, the Five Emperors illusion realm is the only way to become a personal disciple of the Five Emperors. Only by reaching the 20th floor of the Five Emperors illusion realm and above can one become a personal disciple of the Five Emperors. And through the results of the battles in the Five Emperors illusion realm, one can predict that young genius future achievements. This has a profound effect on the situation of the entire Five Emperors' holy city. Outsiders couldn't see the battle scene in the Five Emperor fantasy world. However, whenever a young genius stepped onto a higher level, outsiders would be able to see it clearly. The number of floors one could reach in the end represented how much that young martial cultivator would achieve in the end. Of course, this is only a rough prediction. It can only be said that if there are no accidents, the achievements of these young geniuses won't be too far from the prediction. But accidents always happen. Many young geniuses fall on the path of growth. But there are also many young geniuses who encounter fortuitous encounters on the path of martial arts and become existences with even more potential. Every month, the Five Emperors Illusion Realm battle represents the strongest of the entire Shun Wu world's younger generation. Brilliant Sun In, Long Yu brought Qin Yishuang and Zi Su out of the glorious Sun In. As expected, a large group of people came and surrounded them in an instant. They were all wearing white robes with a golden flower embroidered on them, which was the symbol of the Gongsun family. Everyone has been saying that you perished together with our young master in the life and death gamble. However, it seems that everyone has underestimated you. The leader of the Gongsun clan was a middle-aged man at peak Emperor realm. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he stared at Long Yu. Are you the one who killed our young lord? That's a life and death gamble. Don't tell me that your Gongsun family is such a coward that you can't afford to lose. Long Yu chuckled, not the slightest bit afraid of the other party. Qin Yashuang and Zi Yi stood behind Long Yu, feeling a little apologetic. After all, Gongsun Jiaxing had wanted to help them. But in the end, of course, if he lost a life and death gamble and was killed, he couldn't blame anyone else. The Gongsun clan had indeed gone too far by mobilizing their entire clan's power to wait for Long Yu. Haha, what a joke. The Emperor Realm middle-aged man laughed loudly. Brat, do you dare to have a life and death gamble with me? You can call yourself a coward. A dignified Emperor Realm expert actually challenged a Divine Realm brat to a life and death gamble. It seems that the Gongsun clan is quite shameless. Long Yu chuckled and stepped to the side. However, I don't have time to play with you. Get out of my way. A crimson token appeared in his hand as he said this. The Red Emperor's token. As soon as the Scarlet Sovereign's token appeared, the facial expressions of all the Gongsun clan members changed dramatically. Wherever Long Yu went, all the Gongsun clan members retreated, creating a path for Long Yu. The Red Emperor's token. Why does this brat have the Red Emperor's token? The leading Emperor Realm, middle-aged man's face darkened. He thought that Long Yu finally came out of the brilliant Sun In because he ran out of money. Now, it seemed that wasn't the case. This brat came out today to participate in the fantasy realm battle of the Five Emperors. That idiot Gongsun Jiaxing actually accepted a life and death gamble from a genius who is qualified to enter the fantasy realm of the Five Emperors. He's courting death. The Emperor Realm middle-aged man cursed inwardly. Then he waved his hand and shouted, Everyone listen to my command. Follow me to the sacred tower. I want to see if this brat has the ability to enter the 10th floor of the Five Emperors fantasy realm. As long as one entered the 10th floor of the Five Emperors fantasy realm, the young genius will be protected by the alliance of Five Emperors for a certain period of time. However, if he couldn't enter the 10th floor, the alliance of Five Emperors wouldn't care. In other words, as long Long Yu couldn't enter the 10th floor, the Gongsun clan could openly look for trouble with Long Yu. Of course, if one could enter the 20th floor of the Five Emperors fantasy realm, he would be accepted as a personal disciple by one of the Five Emperors. However, there are less than 10 young geniuses who could enter the 20th floor every year. On average, there might not even be one in a month. It was extremely difficult. A total of over 100 people of the Gongsun clan followed behind Long Yu, heading towards the White Sacred Tower in the center of the sacred city of the Five Emperors. This large group of people of the Gongsun clan boosted Long Yu's prestige. Along the way, everyone made way for them. Some people along the way recognized the young man of the Gongsun clan. Wasn't he the young man who killed Gongsun Jiaxing in 2 moves at the entrance of the Brilliant Sun Inn? Now, why did so many people of the Gongsun clan follow their enemy, but not dare to do anything? Soon, they heard from the surrounding crowd that this young man in black actually had the token of the Red Emperor. He was here to participate in the battle of the fantasy realm of the 5 emperors. Many people were preparing to participate in the opening ceremony of the fantasy realm of the 5 emperors. At this time, they directly followed Long Yu and the people of the Gongsun clan. Every month, when the fantasy realm of the 5 emperors opened, a large amount of pure spiritual qi of heaven and earth would leak out from it. Therefore, anyone who participated in the fantasy realm of the 5 emperors could gain a lot of benefits from it, which could save them a few days of cultivation. Every month, when the fantasy realm of the 5 emperors opened, there would be a large crowd around the white sacred tower. At least 1 million practitioners would gather here. Only some of the large sects and family forces in the city could enter the protective wall of the white sacred tower to watch. The rest of the practitioners could only gather outside and absorb some of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Before long you arrived, a large group of practitioners had already gathered near the sacred tower. There were more than 100,000 of them. It was a sea of people. In a private room of a restaurant near the sacred tower, the Qin clan master and the others were sitting, preparing to watch the battle of the fantasy realm of the 5 emperors and absorb some spiritual qi of heaven and earth. The Qin clan master wore a golden armor, and his square face was full of gloominess. Clan master, I don't think we need to curry favor with Lan Shuyan. Look, the people of the 9 Suns sect are watching from inside the protective wall of the sacred tower. We have already promised to betroth young Miss to him, but he still wants us to find our own seats. A Qin clan elder said unhappily. We could forget about it, but at least you, clan master, should be qualified to follow them into the protective wall of the sacred tower. The reason why the Qin clan master's face was gloomy was because of this matter. Of course, it also included his daughter hiding in the Glorious Sun Inn and not coming out. Lan Shuyan said that as long as my daughter marries over, he will immediately treat us as his own people. Isn't she not married yet? The Qin clan master said coldly. I want to see how long that lass can hide in the Glorious Sun Inn. Reporting to clan master. At this moment, a Qin clan disciple suddenly came to the door of the private room and shouted, We saw young Mississippi. She is rushing towards the sacred tower from the Glorious Sun Inn. The Qin clan master and the others were immediately overjoyed when they heard this. That lass finally came out. I will immediately go and bring her back. One of the Qin clan elders said angrily, Outrageous. Lan Shuyan is such a genius, but that lass doesn't know what's good for her and is still thinking of ways to escape the marriage. What a fool. Let's catch her this time. Don't let her escape. Then I'll leave it to you, second elder. The Qin clan master nodded and patted the second elder's shoulder. The second elder strongly advocated the marriage alliance between the Qin clan and the 9 Suns sect. Therefore, it was quite appropriate for the second elder to handle this matter. Moreover, the second elder was also at the peak of the Emperor realm. It was a piece of cake for him to capture an early-stage King realm girl. The second elder stood up. He was tall and burly, and he looked like he was in the prime of his life. However, he was actually more than 200 years old. Where's the young miss? Take me to her immediately. The boorish second elder left the private room and had the disciple of the Qin clan lead the way. At this moment, Long Yu and the others were not far from the sacred tower. In fact, they had already arrived at the periphery of the incomparably crowded crowd. However, when the onlookers saw the large group of Gongsun clan experts following behind him, they all made way for them. Stop right there. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the front. A tall and burly man blocked Long Yu's path. He was a peak Emperor realm expert, and he was glaring at Long Yu like a tiger watching its prey. His eyes constantly swept over Qin Yashuang and Zi Su, who were behind him. It's the second elder of the Qin clan. Qin Yashuang's heart trembled as she explained to Long Yu. However, What made the second elder furious was that not only did the brat in front of the young miss not stop, but the corner of his mouth curled up slightly as he continued to walk towards him. He is? The second elder's heart skipped a beat. Because he had rushed over, he finally saw the hundreds of Gongsun clan experts behind Long Yu who were gnashing their teeth in anger. He remembered who Long Yu was, the brat who killed the young master of the Gongsun clan. But now, hundreds of Gongsun clan experts were following this brat. It was obvious that they were extremely angry, but none of them dared to make a move. Why? It was obvious that this brat's identity was not ordinary. However, this wasn't enough to scare the second elder of the Qin clan. He had finally waited for Qin Yashuang and Zi Su to come out, so he had to bring them back no matter what. As long as the fantasy realm battle of the five emperors was over and the two ladies were married to Lan Xian, the Qin clan would rise in power. Brat, get out of the way. Let go of our young miss. The second elder stood in front of Long Yu and snorted angrily in an extremely fierce manner. You want to stop me? However, Long Yu did not place him in his eyes at all. With a soft laugh, he walked forward and took out the Scarlet Emperor token. Under the gradually shocked gaze of the second elder, he used the Scarlet Emperor token to slap the latter's rough face twice. The second elder of the Qin clan didn't dare to do anything in front of Long Yu's humiliating action. The Red Emperor's token. His body stiffened and his face turned pale. This brat actually had the Red Emperor's token. No wonder the Gongsun clan people were so cowardly. Long Yu looked at him indifferently. He put away the Red Emperor's token and walked forward with Qin Yashuang and Zi Su. Chapter 775. Near the gate leading to the inside of the sacred tower, silence suddenly enveloped the entire area. Everyone was staring at the three people who were walking towards the gate. Long Yu, Qin Yashuang, and Zi Su. Behind the three people, the second elder of the Qin clan, who was wearing golden armor, was staring at Long Yu in disbelief. To be more precise, he was staring at the Red Emperor's token in Long Yu's hand. Since he was so close to the sacred tower, when the Red Emperor's token appeared in Long Yu's hand, the second elder of the Qin clan felt several divine senses envelop him at the same time. If he showed any intention of harming Long Yu, the experts of the Alliance of Five Emperors would immediately appear and chop him into pieces. It was these threatening divine senses that made the second elder of the Qin clan not dare to move at all. He even allowed Long Yu to slap the Red Emperor's token twice on his face, making him lose all face. However, compared to losing face, the second elder of the Qin clan was obviously more afraid of losing his life. Behind the second elder of the Qin clan, the 100 or so members of the Gongsun clan weren't any better off than the second elder of the Qin clan. All of their faces were ashen as they watched Long Yu step into the sacred tower. If this kid can't step into the 10th level of the Five Emperors' illusion world, the Gongsun clan will definitely take his life. The members of the Gongsun clan were extremely angry. They had waited so long for the murderer of their young master to come out of the glorious Sun Inn. Who knew that this guy had the Red Emperor's token? If they killed Long Yu now, they would become the enemy of the entire alliance of Five Emperors. At that time, the entire Gongsun clan would disappear from the holy city of the Five Emperors. Find a clan master and watch from the side. I don't believe that this kid can step into the 10th level of the Five Emperors' illusion world. A murderous intent flashed through the eyes of the peak Emperor realm middle-aged man of the Gongsun clan. He then waved his hand and led the group of Gongsun clan members away from the scene, heading towards the place that the Gongsun clan had booked beforehand. They were going to wait outside the sanctum and wait for the results of the battle between the Five Emperors. To Long Yu, the Gongsun family and Qin family's second elder were just a small interlude. However, Qin Yashuang and Zi Su were terrified. Fortunately, Senior Dragon has the Red Emperor's token. Otherwise, we would be finished. Qin Yashuang said with lingering fear. If she was caught by the second elder, she would no longer have her freedom. She might even be forced to marry Lan Shuyan of a Nine Sons sect. Therefore, She certainly didn't want to be caught by the Qin family. I think it's better for you to call me young master. Long Yu shook his head. He really couldn't accept being addressed as senior. Qin Yashuang and Zi Su looked at each other and smiled. They didn't say anything else. To them, it was just a small matter. They only hoped that Long Yu could really surpass Lan Shuyan in the battle between the five emperors and save them from their engagement. After Long Yu stepped into the sanctum's protective wall with the Red Emperor's token, he led the two girls in the direction of the Nine Sons sect. His eyes were indifferent, as if he didn't care about the Nine Sons sect at all. He had already attracted a lot of attention when he entered the sanctum's protective wall. Now that he was walking in the direction of the Nine Sons sect, many forces inside the sanctum's protective wall started pointing at Long Yu. These forces that were qualified to sit inside the sanctum's protective wall were all great forces in the holy city of the five emperors. The most important ones were the 6 sects and 10 countries. Within the sanctum's protective wall, there were special seats reserved for the people of the 6 sects and 10 countries. They could absorb the most spiritual chi of heaven and earth from the opening of the illusion realm of the five emperors. The Nine Sons sect wasn't considered one of the 6 sects and 10 countries. Compared to forces like the 6 sects and 10 countries, the Nine Sons sect was much weaker. However, below the 6 sects and 10 countries, the Nine Sons sect was already considered one of the top forces. Look, the two girls behind that kid. Didn't the Qin family say that they were going to marry Lan Shuyan? That's true, but these two little girls are actually following behind another young man. There seems to be some hidden story behind this. Lan Shuyan is notorious. Which normal woman would be willing to marry him? I think these two girls don't want to marry Lan Shuyan, so they found another helper to help them. It's a pity that I've never seen that kid before. He shouldn't be someone from the holy city of the five emperors. If he's an outsider, then it's impossible for him to go against the Nine Sons sect. These two girls from the Qin family bet on the wrong treasure. Among the 6 sects and 10 countries, many people were pointing at the scene. Obviously, they could see the relationship between Long Yu, the Nine Sons sect, and the two girls. And now, Long Yu was leading the two girls in the direction of the Nine Sons sect. Because Lan Shuyan was going to participate in the illusion realm battle of the five emperors, the Nine Sons sect also got 100 seats within the protective wall of the sanctum. A total of 100 people from the Nine Sons sect were sitting in front of Long Yu. Among them, a young man in blue, who looked to be 18 or 19 years old, was sitting in a seat around the sanctum. He looked down at Long Yu and sized up the two girls behind him. This young man in blue was Lan Shuyan, who was going to participate in the illusion realm battle of the five emperors. He was a super genius of the younger generation of the Nine Sons sect. He was not even 20 years old, but he had already stepped into the late-stage king realm. It was extremely terrifying. Lan Shuyan's eyes were blue, and he was wearing a blue robe with flames embroidered on it. There was a hint of ridicule in his eyes as he glanced at Long Yu and the two girls behind him. When Long Yu came in front of the Nine Sons sect seats, Lan Shuyan suddenly stood up as if he wanted to say something. However, Long Yu spoke before he could. Before he stood still, he asked, "You're Lan Shuyan of the Nine Sons sect?" "That's me. Who are you? How dare you capture my 2 fiancées?" Lan Shuyan was a little surprised that Long Yu spoke first, but he still asked directly, "Qin Yashuang, Zisu, these 2 girls are my fiancées. Do you know that?" "Of course I know." Long Yu shrugged and didn't care about the other party's question. "Since you know, you still dare to let them follow you?" Lan Shuyan's face darkened. "Can I take this as a provocation? My name is Long Yu. You can take it as a provocation. I have a bet. Do you dare to agree?" Long Yu laughed. "In the illusion realm battle of the five emperors, you and I will compete. If my results surpass yours, you must give up on Qin Yashuang and Zisu, and vice versa. You think you can win me, little brat from the secret realm of divinity?" Lan Shuyan's lips curled up slightly. "The bet you mentioned is completely meaningless. As for these 2 girls, no matter what, they are my fiancées. Do you think you can kidnap them? By the way, women will always be women, brainless. Do you think you can escape my control just by hanging around a guy who can participate in the illusion realm battle of the five emperors? Wishful thinking. After Lan Shuyan finished speaking, he looked at Long Yu in a provocative manner. If you want to make a bet, then use other things to bet. These two women are mine. You don't have the qualifications to use them as bargaining chips. That's quite hard to deal with. Long Yu laughed softly. How about this? If I lose, this thing belongs to you. But if you lose, Qin Yashuang and Zissou are mine. Do you agree? Long Yu took out a special Emperor Realm crystal from his robes. This scene shocked everyone present. A special crystal of the Emperor Realm. This was a precious cultivation resource that was 5 times more effective than an ancient mid-grade pill. Not to mention the Ninth Sun sect, even the 6 sects and 10 countries would have a hard time getting one. If it appeared occasionally in an auction, it could be sold for at least 4 to 5 million Shinbi. This kid actually used a special beast of the Emperor Realm as a bargaining chip. It wasn't just the people from the Ninth Sun sect. Even the experts from the 6 sects and 10 countries who were watching from the side had their eyes lit up. This was a special crystal of the Emperor Realm. The experts from the 6 sects and 10 countries wished that they were the ones betting with Long Yu. What was the use of 2 women? If they lost, they lost. But a special crystal of the Emperor Realm was enough to raise their cultivation by a large margin. Even to the Emperor Realm, this special crystal was extremely attractive. Not to mention Lan Shuyan. When he felt the aura of the special crystal in Long Yu's hand, Lan Shuyan felt like he was about to stop breathing. His eyes were filled with joy. Is what you said true? Are you willing to use this special crystal as a bargaining chip for this bet? A man's words carry enormous weight. When the time comes, I can give the special crystal to the 5 emperors and let them keep it for the time being. Long Yu said casually, as long as you can beat me in the fantasy realm battle of the 5 emperors, this thing is yours. Deal. Lan Shuyan agreed without hesitation. Didn't he see the anxious expressions on the faces of the experts from the 6 sects and 10 countries? This thing might not be seen in the holy city of the 5 emperors for a whole year. Now that it was right in front of him, how could he not grab this opportunity? Qin Yashuang and Zi Xian, 2 fiancés, they couldn't compare to this special crystal of the Emperor Realm. Lan Shuyan stared at the special crystal in Long Yu's hand. If they weren't under the sacred tower, he would have already taken it. Unfortunately, he didn't have any chance under the sacred tower. Qin Yashuang and Zi Xian, who were behind Long Yu, stared blankly at the thing in Long Yu's hand. When they heard that Lan Shuyan wasn't willing to bet, their hearts sank. However, the 2 women had never imagined that Long Yu would actually take out such a treasure as a bargaining chip, just to agree to their conditions. This was a precious resource that could make everyone in the holy city of the 5 emperors excited. Before this, the 2 women had only chosen Long Yu with the mentality of giving it a try. But now, the 2 women had full confidence in Long Yu. Many young geniuses from the Nine Sun sect surrounded Lan Shuyan and congratulated him. Senior brother Lan, I didn't expect such a good thing to come to us today. Looks like it's going to be a double blessing. Not bad, not bad. That kid is only at the 5 Daos divinity realm. How can he surpass senior brother Lan in the fantasy realm battle of the 5 emperors? Dream on. That kid is too stupid. He actually took out such a treasure as a bargaining chip for 2 women. Such a person won't live to the end, no matter how talented he is. Loud laughter rang out from the Nine Sun sect. Amidst their laughter, Long Yu brought the 2 women with him as he walked to the side and took a seat on the other side. Chapter 776. Long Yu sat down on a nearby seat. Qin Yashuang and Zissou obediently sat behind him. At the same time, they couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Long Yu took out the precious Emperor Realm's special crystal as a bargaining chip. What if he lost? The 2 girls were relatively kind-hearted. If Long Yu were to lose the bet and lose the Emperor Realm's special crystal, the 2 girls would not feel good about it. However, they could not say anything to stop the bet now that it had come to this. The 2 girls' desire for freedom had already surpassed everything else. All they could do now was hope that Long Yu would get a good result in the fantasy world of the Five Emperors. It would be best if he could reach the 20th floor in one go. That would be the best ending. As long as he reached the 20th floor, Long Yu could become the personal disciple of the Red Emperor. At that time, who would dare to bully Long Yu? Even Lan Shuyin didn't dare to say that he could reach the 20th floor. Little brother, you are Long Yu. I've heard of you. Suddenly, a white-haired old man appeared in front of Long Yu and the others like a ghost. He stared at Long Yu with wise eyes and said with a smile, "Senior, you've heard of me?" Long Yu curled his lips. He didn't expect the old man to take the initiative to greet him. "That's right. I'm the cabinet elder of the Alliance of Five Emperors." Murong Xiuzhen has a good relationship with this old man. The white-haired old man raised his head and smiled at Long Yu. "Little brother Long, since you have the Emperor Realm special crystal, why not give it to this old man? In exchange, this old man is willing to marry my great-granddaughter to you as compensation. Are you willing?" The old man's words set off a storm in the surrounding area. Although Long Yu didn't see where this old man came from and didn't know who this old man was, the others knew. One of the 6 sects and 10 countries. The previous emperor of the Taiwu Empire, Taiwu Abyss. The Taiwu Empire was considered a powerful empire among the 6 sects and 10 nations. Taiwu Yuan's great-granddaughter was the daughter of the current emperor of the Taiwu Empire, which was also the princess of the Taiwu Empire. This old man actually said that he wanted to marry his great-granddaughter to Long Yu. Didn't that mean that Long Yu would become the son-in-law of the Taiwu Empire? Shocking. All of the nearby powers, including the Nine Sun sect, were shocked. No one could have imagined that the Taiwu Abyss would suddenly jump out and say something like that. Was it because of an Emperor Realm beast crystal? No one would believe it. Although the special crystal of the Emperor stage was precious, it was not enough for the dignified retired emperor of the Taiwu Empire to easily marry off his great-granddaughter. Unless this decision was not made lightly, but had been carefully considered. Cabinet Elder of the Alliance of Five Emperors, Murong Xiuzhen. This person's name reverberated in many people's hearts, and they couldn't help but be shocked. They didn't think that the inconspicuous young man, Long Yu, would actually be acquainted with such an expert. The way they looked at Long Yu suddenly changed. Could it be that Murong Xiuzhen had told the Taiwu Abyss that this young man, Long Yu, was extremely talented in martial arts? This was the only way that this Long Yu would attract the attention of the Taiwu Abyss, right? The Taiwu Abyss probably wanted Long Yu to hand over the special crystal of the Emperor stage so that Long Yu would give up on the 2 women of the Qin family, and not because the Taiwu Abyss coveted the special crystal. As long as he paid such a small price, he could become the son-in-law of the Taiwu Empire. For ordinary martial cultivators, this was simply a great thing. With Qin Yashuang's introduction, Long Yu also learned the identity of the white-haired old man in front of him. It turned out that he was the retired emperor of the Taiwu Empire, one of the 6 sects and 10 countries. This identity was indeed shocking. In terms of seniority, this old man was probably older than the current 5 emperors. However, Long Yu's answer to the old man was shaking his head. Yes, shaking his head. Long Yu was not willing to agree to this condition, which seemed extremely tempting to ordinary people. For ordinary people, if they married the princess of the Taiwu Empire, they would have endless cultivation resources in the future and even more special crystals of the Emperor's stage. However, for Long Yu, he did not lack any cultivation resources, so of course he was not willing to give up his freedom. If he really married the princess of the Taiwu Empire, then it was obvious that he would not have any freedom in the future. Long Yu did not know the purpose of this old man's words, but in any case, he would not agree. When Long Yu slowly shook his head, the white-haired old man's expression suddenly changed. He knew what Long Yu meant. Did shaking his head not mean that he refused? This young man actually dared to refuse the Taiwu Abyss's conditions. The smile on the Taiwu Abyss's old face gradually disappeared. Young man, perhaps you do not know what kind of power the Taiwu Empire has. Our Taiwu Empire has hundreds of Emperor stage powerhouses. As long as you join the Taiwu Empire, You'll have Emperor stage powerhouses as your guards. As your master, your road of martial arts will be smooth. Senior, may I ask how the Emperor stage powerhouses of the Taiwu Empire compare to the 5 emperors? Long Yu was neither servile nor overbearing as he indifferently asked. Naturally, they're not as good as the 5 emperors. The Taiwu Abyss answered without hesitation. Then why can't I refuse your proposal? Long Yu asked back. This question made the Taiwu Abyss laugh wildly 3 times. Ha ha ha, ignorant boy. Do you think you can set foot on the 20th floor of the fantasy world of the 5 emperors? Although the Taiwu Abyss was laughing wildly, there was no smile in his eyes. Instead, there was a hint of coldness. Young man, you think too highly of yourself. Do you think that I made that condition just now because of your martial arts talent? What a joke. As soon as the white-haired old man, the Taiwu Abyss, spoke these words, it instantly caused everyone to be shocked once more. Not because of his martial arts talent? Then what was it for? Could it be because of the force behind him? However, the holy city of the 5 emperors was the center of the entire Shunwu world. The major forces that developed here all year round were very familiar with the distribution of forces in the Shenwu world. No one had ever heard of any force having a genius named Long Yu. This Long Yu was not someone from the holy city of the 5 emperors. And outside of the holy city of the 5 emperors, besides the 6 sects and 10 countries, what other force could there be that could tempt the Taiwu Abyss? Many people looked at Long Yu and fell into deep thought. Most of them were stuck in a dead end. They couldn't figure out what Taiwu Abyss saw in Long Yu. The force behind Long Yu? Not likely. Could it be that Long Yu had some kind of close relationship with the cabinet elder Murong Xiuzhen of the Alliance of 5 Emperors? Not likely either. In fact, even Long Yu didn't know what this Taiwu Abyss was trying to do. What did I have to attract this Taiwu Abyss? About Murong Xiuzhen, Long Yu's heart moved. He remembered that Murong Xiuzhen had seen him fight against strange beasts. Could it be that Murong Xiuzhen saw through some of his secrets? Secrets about Juyo Dragon Emperor and the Envoy of Death. Very likely. Long Yu's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. He raised his head and glanced at the Taiwu Abyss. This white-haired old man, the Taiwu Abyss, saw that Long Yu seemed to have realized something. His wise eyes flashed with a hint of threat. He then smiled, turned around, and left. This old man, Long Yu felt a chill in his heart. He knew that this old man didn't have any good intentions towards him. The reason why he wanted to marry his great-granddaughter to him was probably to capture him and investigate his secrets. No matter who it was, no one would be willing to be treated as a lab rat. Long Yu was the same. The Taiwu Empire is too powerful. There seems to be no other way to escape this calamity. The only way is to become the direct disciple of the Red Emperor, Long Yu kept thinking. Originally, his goal for the phantom world of the 5 emperors was to promote the cultivation of his martial arts and magical powers. But now, it seemed that he had to set foot on the 20th floor. For Long Yu, it was not necessary to become the disciple of the Red Emperor. Even without the Red Emperor, he could still continue to advance on the road of martial arts. But now, if he did not have a strong backer, would the Taiwu Empire let him go? Obviously not. The Taiwu Empire certainly could not know the specific secrets of Long Yu, but they obviously knew that he was hiding secrets, so they would definitely capture him. Fortunately, I rejected this old man. Otherwise, I'm afraid that when I go back with him, I will only find out that this is a conspiracy. Fortunately, Long Yu was clever. He knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world, so he decisively rejected Taiwu Abyss, causing Taiwu Abyss to lose some face. Only then did he reveal some things. Based on this, Long Yu's speculation must be 80 to 90% correct. Looking at the eyes of Taiwu Abyss when he left, Long Yu knew that this old man definitely had bad intentions towards him. Of course, it was impossible for the Taiwu Abyss to say something related to it in public. Therefore, the reactions of the other people present towards Long Yu and the Taiwu Abyss were very strange. However, no matter how they guessed, they could not guess the truth. As for Qin Yashuang and Zi Su, they were also keenly aware of something, but they did not know the truth. They could only look at each other and did not say anything. They were not fools. Of course, they could see that Taiwu Abyss's words were unusual. They were afraid that the young man they followed, Long Yu, was not simple. This kid, not far away, in the crowd of Nine Suns sect, the young man in blue, Lan Shuyan, stared at Long Yu. His heart was extremely unbalanced. Why did this kid get the favor of Taiwu Abyss? He, Lan Shuyan, was obviously 100 times better than Long Yu, a 19-year-old in the late stage of the King realm. How could that kid compare? He was only in the secret realm at the age of 23 or 24. This kind of martial Dao talent was simply a disgrace in the holy city of the Five Emperors. How could Taiwu Abyss take a fancy to this guy? It doesn't matter. Anyway, after the fantasy world battle of the Five Emperors, this kid will definitely be defeated by me. At that time, that Emperor Realm's special crystal will be mine, and the two beauties of the Qin family will be mine. Chapter 777. Everyone's attention was on Long Yu. In the Taiwu Empire's direction, the white-haired Emperor Peak Old Man, Taiwu Abyss, didn't pay any more attention to Long Yu and turned his attention elsewhere. Very quickly, as other young geniuses with 5 Emperor's badges arrived from every corner of Shenwu world, the day of the opening of the 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm was nearing. The 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm opens once every month. Any young genius with a 5 Emperor's badge can directly use the 5 Emperor's badge to enter the 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm. Because of that, there's no specific person that enters the 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm, to the point that before the 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm opens, even the 5 Emperors themselves don't know who will come. The 5 Emperors, the 5 strongest cultivators of Shenwu world, travel around Shenwu world and send their subordinates everywhere. Whenever they find a young genius with outstanding talent, they'll be given a 5 Emperor's badge. Of course, the 5 Emperor's badges are also divided into different levels. The most common is the 5 Emperor's Experience badge. Cultivators with the 5 Emperor's Experience badge can come to the 5 Emperor's Holy City to participate in the experience issued by the Alliance of 5 Emperors. If they complete the experience with good results, they'll be given a real 5 Emperor's badge and have the chance to enter the 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm. But there's a small group of people like Long Yu who have the right to be given a real 5 Emperor's badge and directly enter the 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm. As the sun rose from the east, more and more young geniuses with the 5 Emperor's badge and are about to enter the 5 Emperor's Illusion Realm gathered on the Sacred Tower's walls. On average, there would be around 10 people who would step into the fantasy world of the 5 Emperors every month. This time, there were obviously more people participating than the previous time. Up until now, 12 young geniuses had appeared within the walls of the Holy Tower and had shown the guards the order of the 5 Emperors. The Red Emperor, the Flame Emperor, the Demon Emperor, the Lay Emperor, and the Saint Emperor, the 5 strongest great emperors, each gave out their own 5 Emperor's badge, gathering the young geniuses from every corner of Shenwu world. The 12 young geniuses who entered the Sacred Tower's protective walls quickly began to observe each other, but they soon realized that they basically didn't know each other, except for Lan Shuyan and Long Yu. Lan Shuyan was a young genius of the Ninth Sun sect and had a high reputation in the holy city of the 5 Emperors. Of course, other young geniuses who came to the 5 Emperors' holy city had heard of him. As for Long Yu, it was because of the Taiwu Abyss from the Taiwu Empire that everyone knew of him. But obviously, everyone didn't have a good impression of him. Quite a few people felt that Long Yu's martial arts talent wasn't very strong, and that he was only lucky enough to obtain the Red Emperor's badge. But he was too arrogant, making a bet with Lan Shuyan and rejecting the Taiwu Abyss's proposal. This person was too arrogant. Aside from Lan Shuyan, the other 11 people who were going to enter the fantasy world of the 5 Emperors were all from outside the 5 Emperors' holy city. It could be seen that there were quite a few geniuses in Shenwu world. Long Yu saw quite a few unique people among them. Some had very long ears, some had very dark skin, and some had a pair of purple eyes. Those who were qualified to enter the fantasy world of the Five Emperors were all young geniuses from all over Shenwu world, and they were all top-notch geniuses. And among them, Long Yu's martial arts realm was without a doubt the lowest. Level 5 of the Theurgy realm. With this kind of strength, being able to safely arrive at the holy city of the Five Emperors from a faraway place was already a miracle. Because of this, most of the people present didn't think highly of Long Yu. Now, they just had to wait for the arrival of the Five Emperors. Every time the fantasy world of the Five Emperors was opened, the Five Emperors had to work together. That's why this place was called the fantasy world of the Five Emperors. Within the range of the Sacred Tower's protective walls, the three big trading companies of the Five Emperors' holy city were naturally qualified to sit there, which Su Ning, and led the white-haired young swordsman Su Jianbai and many other strong people from the Su medicine shop to sit on the side. Su Ning glanced at Long Yu from time to time. Her beautiful eyes flashed with curiosity. She could tell that the Shadow Emperor pill and Mirage Ghost pill that Qin Yashuang bought were all prepared for Long Yu. No wonder he didn't come personally and could only send a woman. So it's because he's only at the Five Daos Theurgy realm and hasn't reached the Imperial Path Arcane realm. But with this level of cultivation, can he really be recognized by the Red Emperor? Su Ning was very doubtful. Of course, when she saw that even the Taiwu Abyss of the Taiwu Empire wanted Long Yu to become the son-in-law of the Taiwu Empire, Su Ning immediately knew that Long Yu definitely had many secrets. And these secrets were something that even the Taiwu Empire of the 6 sects and 10 countries coveted. On the other side, Lin Ruizai of the Lin Trading Company also led many strong people to watch the battle. Behind him was his nephew, Lin Feiyong, who he had brought here from afar. At this moment, he was looking around excitedly. The opening of the illusion realm of the Five Emperors was a very new thing to him. When a young man, Lin Feiyong, looked at Long Yu, he couldn't help but show a look of disdain. "Uncle Lin, why do you think that Long Yu is qualified to be recognized by the Red Emperor? He's older than me, but his cultivation is only at the Five Daos Theurgy realm. He's not even as good as me. What right does he have to step into the illusion realm of the Five Emperors?" Lin Ruizai glanced at Long Yu with a look of doubt in his eyes. Then, he shook his head and lectured his nephew. "You can't judge a book by its cover. You think he's only at the Five Daos Theurgy realm, but just a few days ago he killed the young master of the Gongsun clan, who was at the early stage of the King realm, in 2 moves. Humph, that's because the people of the Gongsun clan are too useless. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't give him any chance." Lin Feiyong snorted, still showing disdain for Long Yu. He looked at Long Yu with strong jealousy in his eyes. He just couldn't understand why even those at the secret realm of the divinity realm were qualified to step into the illusion realm of the Five Emperors, while he, who had already broken through to the secret realm of the King Path, was still not qualified. Getting the qualification to step into the illusion realm of the Five Emperors was equivalent to getting the chance to become the disciple of the Five Emperors. But Lin Feiyong could only try to become the disciple of an ordinary elder of the Alliance of Five Emperors, Tianxiang Emperor, and there was no guarantee that he would succeed. This caused Lin Feiyong to feel extremely unbalanced. As a result, he kept cursing Long Yu, so that Long Yu would perform badly in the illusion realm of the Five Emperors, and it would be best if he was eliminated directly. However, Lin Ruizai didn't think so. What he thought was the same as Su Ning. Even the old man from the Taiwu Empire had made a move. It seemed that there were some secrets behind Long Yu. Even Lin Ruizai thought more than Su Ning. A special crystal of the Emperor realm. Could this person be related to Wang Tai? Speaking of which, since the last auction, I haven't seen Wang Tai, and then this Long Yu appeared. Lin Ruizai fell into deep thought. Ha ha ha. Just as everyone was looking forward to it, the sun finally rose above everyone's heads. Noon had finally arrived, and the time for the illusion realm of the Five Emperors to open had finally arrived. An extremely arrogant laugh came from the distant sky, and at the same time, a terrifying hurricane formed in the sky, forming a black tornado. On this black tornado, there were two figures flying over. The two figures were pitch black, and one of them was tall and burly, giving people endless pressure with just one look. Demon Emperor, Demon Emperor, Demon Emperor. The millions of cultivators surrounding the sacred tower instantly burst into thunderous shouts. Accompanied by these shouts, the black tornado that flew from afar instantly arrived beside the sacred tower and stopped above everyone's heads. That's the Demon Emperor? Long Yu raised his head and looked at the black tornado. He saw two figures shrouded in thick black fog. One of them was tall and burly, exuding a terrifying aura of death. One of the five emperors, the Demon Emperor. This is the disciple that this emperor has just found, and this emperor has already confirmed that he will be accepted as a personal disciple. His name is Black Saber. The Demon Emperor's powerful and murderous voice filled the entire area. At the same time, one of the black figures on the black tornado finally revealed themselves. It was a young man who was only 14 or 15 years old. He wore a black cloak, and his entire body exuded an extremely dense, murderous aura, just like the Demon Emperor. His slightly immature face was filled with endless murderous intent. This was a young man who had killed many people, even more than Long Yu. Long Yu's heart shook. It wasn't that he had never seen a 14 or 15-year-old youth, but he had never seen a 14 or 15-year-old Emperor Realm cultivator. The tyrannical aura exuded from this young man, Black Saber, was not any weaker than the genius of the North Snow Empire, the personal disciple of the Red Emperor, Yu Hanxin. Was this the strength of a personal disciple of the five emperors? Long Yu's fighting spirit surged. Compared to these geniuses of the Shenwu world, his growth was still a bit too slow. However, in reality, Long Yu was too demanding of himself. For the first 18 years of his life, he was trash. It wasn't until the age of 18 that he finally awakened the Azure Dragon mark and stepped onto the path of martial arts. He even spent a lot of time on Heavenly Mandate Island, a place without enough cultivation resources. As for the 14 to 15-year-old Blackblade, he had most likely been killing people since he was 6 to 7 years old, as well as stealing cultivation resources from Shenwu world, without a doubt. This young man's path of martial arts was extremely difficult. A normal person wouldn't be able to last until now, but the opportunities he encountered were definitely much more than Long Yu. Shenwu world was the miniature world of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor. There were too many treasures buried in this miniature world. For example, the Storm Demon Blade and the Demon Blade's ruins. It was very likely that they were created by a small soldier of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor. If the Envoy of Death, the Shura Envoy, and the other 3 envoys all died in this Shenwu world, then what about the other subordinates of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor? Any of the ruins left behind by any one of them were precious resources. And these resources became the things that cultivators of the entire Shenwu world fought over. Without a doubt, the young Black Saber obtained a few of them, which made his strength so terrifying. Black Saber had just become this emperor's personal disciple, so this emperor brought him here to try out the illusion world of the 5 emperors. Let's see how far he can go, huh? The Demon Emperor laughed loudly. Then the black tornado spread in all directions. He then brought his personal disciple Black Saber to one of the windows on the 5th floor of the White Tower. Chapter 778. When the Demon Emperor and his personal disciple, Black Knife, arrived, the other 4 emperors quickly arrived as well. Lei Emperor. Lightning flashed in the sky. Lei Emperor controlled the power of the divine characters of thunder and lightning. He came from the distant sky. Just like the Demon Emperor, he had brought a new personal disciple with him. This emperor's personal disciple, Yi Ziwei. The Thunder Monarch did not speak much, but he had expressed the same thoughts as the Demon Monarch. You, the Demon Monarch, are not the only ones who have just taken in a direct disciple. The Thunder Monarch, also have one, and he is extremely talented. Everyone looked at the two people who had arrived with the sky full of lightning. One of them was surrounded by lightning, and his eyes were wide open in anger. His black hair stood on end, and he looked like the legendary god of thunder. He was one of the 5 emperors, the Thunder Monarch. The young girl next to Lay Emperor had her eyes closed. There was a lightning mark on her fair forehead, giving her a unique advantage in the comprehension of the divine characters of thunder. The young girl, Yi Wei, was Lay Emperor's new personal disciple. She was a bit older than the Demon Emperor's personal disciple, Black Knife, and was also in the Emperor realm. She didn't look any weaker than Black Knife. The Thunder Monarch looked provocatively at the Demon Monarch and the Black Saber. Then, he turned around and brought Yi Wei to another window. He hovered in midair, allowing the boundless lightning divine scripts to gather around him. He appeared very mighty. Congratulations on accepting a personal disciple. Haha. A fiery laugh traveled into everyone's ears. Then, a cluster of heavenly fire descended, and a figure appeared in front of the other window. The Flame Emperor. The 9 Sons sect members were all a bit excited when the Flame Emperor appeared. To them, the power that the Flame Emperor possessed was their lifelong pursuit. The genius of the 9 Sons sect, Lan Shuyan, had obtained the Flame Emperor's decree. Little fellows, you have to work hard. Look at how arrogant the Demon Emperor and Lay Emperor are, haha. Emperor Yan's figure was still hidden in the flames. His voice sounded very hearty. He seemed to have glanced at the other youths who were going to participate in the fantasy realm battle of the 5 emperors. His gaze mainly stopped on Lan Shuyan before he laughed. Junior will not disappoint Lord Flame Emperor. Lan Shuyan was excited. He stood up and cupped his hands in salute. The Flame Emperor waved his hand in the flames, but did not say anything. He raised his head and looked at the horizon. Those 2 brats should be here soon. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 figures appeared in the distant sky, flying straight toward the white sacred tower. One of them wore a white robe, while the other wore a crimson cloak. Is it the Red Emperor and the Sage Emperor? Long Yu narrowed his eyes, but very quickly discovered that the figure in the scarlet cloak was definitely not the Red Emperor. He had seen the Red Emperor back in the North Snow Empire. He was an amiable old man in scarlet robes. The crimson-cloaked martial cultivator who had just appeared was a young man. Emperor Realm. When the other party came closer, Long Yu's pupil shrank. He was actually in the Emperor Realm. That young man looked to be in his 20s, but he had an iron-blooded aura. He was actually in the Emperor Realm. Of course, the lifespan of an Emperor Realm expert was extremely long. That young man looked to be in his 20s, but in reality, he was already 100 years old. As long as his speed of breaking through the martial realm was fast enough, his appearance would change very slowly. Since it was not the Red Emperor, then who could it be? And according to the rumors, the Sage Emperor's age was similar to the Red Emperor's. The white-robed young man, flying from afar, was also in the Emperor realm. He looked very heroic, and his entire body was filled with a holy aura. They are the top disciples of the Red Emperor and the Sage Emperor. As if seeing Long Yu's confusion, Qin Yashuang, who was behind him, lowered her voice and introduced the top disciple of the Sage Emperor, Qi Tianming. He is the youngest Emperor Realm expert in the past 100 years. The top disciple of the Red Emperor, Xing Fa. He has led teams to destroy countless beast lairs in the past 100 years. He is the mainstay of the alliance of 5 emperors. Qi Tianming, Xing Fa. 2 Emperor Realm experts appeared together to replace their respective masters to open the illusion realm of the 5 emperors. The illusion realm of the 5 emperors opened once a month. Of course, not all of the 5 emperors were present. Under such circumstances, only the personal disciples of the 5 emperors could open it. If the top disciple was present, then the top disciple would do it. If the top disciple was not present, then the other personal disciples would do it. After all, once one became a personal disciple of the 5 emperors, they would be taught the seal to open the illusion realm of the 5 emperors. Of course, to open the illusion realm of the 5 emperors, One's own cultivation must be in the Emperor realm. Very quickly, Qi Tianming and Xing Fa arrived near the sacred tower. Qi Tianming's handsome face had a threatening, heroic spirit. The holy aura on his body made people feel very comfortable. He smiled and said, "Apologies, seniors, we are late." Of course, he was talking to Lei Emperor, Demon Emperor, and Emperor Yan. Although Qi Tianming had the right to open the illusion realm of the five emperors, it did not mean that Qi Tianming had the right to sit on the same level as the three emperors. He still had to show the necessary etiquette. As for Xing Fa, his eyes were cold. He only shifted his gaze to look at Long Yu and the other two young geniuses who were participating in the illusion realm of the five emperors before looking away. Everyone could feel the thick iron blood aura on Xing Fa. His body was condensed with the blood of countless exotic beasts. The top disciple of the Red Emperor, that gaze just now, did not have any emotions. How many exotic beasts has Xing Fa killed? Long Yu thought to himself. However, he did not pay too much attention to Xing Fa. To him, the most important thing now was the illusion realm of the five emperors. Everything else had to be put aside. When Qi Tianming and Xing Fa arrived, it was time for the illusion realm of the five emperors to open. The top disciples of the three emperors and the other two emperors floated beside the five windows on the fifth level of the sacred tower. Each of them displayed different techniques and formed different seals, preparing to open the illusion realm of the five emperors. The five windows on the fifth level of the sacred tower finally began to open slowly. Everyone present seemed to hear a primordial sigh coming from within. Then, a storm of spiritual qi surged out from within and spread out in all directions. "Go!" The demon emperor waved his hand, and Blackblade, who was standing next to him, lifted his foot and stepped into the open window. On the other side, the personal disciple of Lei Emperor, Yi Ziwei, finally opened her eyes. Not only did she have a lightning mark on her forehead, but even her eyes were filled with the shadow of lightning. Yi Ziwei stepped into the illusion realm of the five emperors. At the same time, everyone else present also flew into the sky and prepared to enter the illusion realm of the five emperors. The place where Long Yu headed was, of course, the window opened by the top disciple of the Red Emperor, Xing Fa. Before Long Yu, there were two other young geniuses ahead of him. Xiao Xinghai. First, a young man flew to Xing Fa's side, and Xing Fa said his name expressionlessly. Then, he nodded his head lightly and let the young man enter the illusion realm of the five emperors. The young man named Xiao Xinghai had a cynical expression on his face. Before he stepped into the illusion realm of the five emperors, he threw a provocative look at Long Yu, who was not far away. Obviously, Xiao Xinghai regarded Long Yu as his opponent because they all had the order of the Red Emperor and were fighting for the Red Emperor. If they could step into the 20th level of the illusion realm of the five emperors, they would become the personal disciple of the Red Emperor. Xiao Xinghai seemed to be quite displeased with Long Yu, who had just been in the limelight. Therefore, Long Yu could clearly feel the hostility from the other party. However, this had no effect on Long Yu. Yin Wenyao. Next was a young man with a cold expression and a strong, murderous aura in his eyes. He was thin and seemed to have mainly comprehended the shadow attribute divine text. Before stepping into the illusion realm of the five emperors, Yin Wenyao glanced at Long Yu with a disdainful look. To him, a kid in the mystery realm was not worth his attention at all. In this illusion realm of the five emperors, Long Yu was definitely not his target. Black Knife, Yi Ziwei, these two were the strongest people in this illusion realm of the five emperors. Long Yu. When Long Yu arrived, the iron-blooded young man in a red cloak, Xing Fa, continued to report his name. He revealed an inexplicable smile. "You and Junior Yu Hanshin came from the same place. I hope you won't disappoint me. However, with your cultivation in the mystery realm, It won't be easy for you to achieve good results in the illusion realm of the Five Emperors. Did you know that when Junior Yuhanshin entered the illusion realm of the Five Emperors, she directly stepped into the 28th level? Her talent was peerless and was the talk of the town many months ago. From Xing Fei's words, Long, you could clearly hear the praise for Yuhanshin. Pardon me for asking, but how many levels did Senior enter in the illusion realm of the Five Emperors? Long Yu was curious and couldn't help but ask. Hearing that, Long Yu dared to ask him in return. Xing Fei's smile became even more inexplicable. The 30th level. After the 20th level, the difficulty of the Five Emperors' illusion realm gets higher and higher. However, the rewards also increase. Everyone only has one chance to enter the illusion realm of the Five Emperors. Make good use of it. Even if you can't become my junior, entering the illusion realm of the Five Emperors once will still be very beneficial to you. Long Yu didn't expect Xing Fei to say so much to him. His anticipation for the illusion realm of the Five Emperors grew higher. He took a step forward and stepped into the illusion realm of the Five Emperors. Xing Fei looked at his disappearing back, and the inexplicable smile on his face disappeared. He thought faintly, Master said that this kid's talent is not bad, but after some contact, he didn't find anything special about him. I hope he can give me some surprises. A total of 14 young geniuses stepped into the illusion realm of the Five Emperors from 5 windows. Then, the illusion realm of the Five Emperors finally closed. The rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth that escaped from the illusion realm of the Five Emperors was quickly absorbed by the millions of cultivators gathered around the sacred tower. It didn't take long for it to be completely absorbed. The group of cultivators finished absorbing and digesting a little. Their faces were filled with joy. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth that they absorbed at this moment was equivalent to their usual cultivation for 10 days to half a month. Then they raised their heads and looked at the crystal windows on the 6th level of the sacred tower. Through those crystal windows, everyone could clearly see the battle situation in the illusion realm of the Five Emperors. Whoever was eliminated and who stepped into a higher level would all be shown on those crystal windows. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.